Beyond that is gray.
What's going on, everybody? Yes, apologies. We are dealing with some technical difficulties. Just some issues with some cameras and some stuff. Alex will be with us momentarily, but I wanted you all to see that he was here. So I'll just take him out until he decides to pop in. Yeah, StreamYard. I don't know if any of you guys are keeping up on this. It's some of the nerd stuff, but StreamYard is moving their program around a bit, and they're going to be going up in price and lots of other fun stuff. And with that comes a whole bunch of new features, but with that, a whole bunch of new drawbacks. So apologies. And yes, Artie, thank you very much. Better late than never. Appreciate it. Necromechanical says, these computers keep getting crazier.
Oh boy, do they ever, right?
Absolutely. And of course, with the late, very unprofessional. I agree, sir. Unprofessional. Oh, okay.
Come on now.
I can't read. You guys know this. I can't spell. I can't read. I can't even time.
I thought you were an intellectual.
No, I don't even know what that word means. I'm just hanging out here. So yeah, you're just stuck with Evan and I at least for a little bit, and then we'll kind of figure things out. But Evan, how are things going, man?
Good. Busy. I've been trying a bit of a different approach with the videos because it was at a bit of a low point, and it seems to have been working out pretty well. So I'm very happy to see that. Aside from that, I've just been trying to like get ahead of schedule on things. So I just watched The Witch last night and this morning because I wanted to watch it with the director's cut as well. Prepping for a video on that in October. If you ever, by the way, Dylan, are trying to work on some Eggers stuff, and you want to do it through the director's commentary, make sure that you have your pause button on handy, because good God, the amount of detail that man goes into in his director's commentaries makes it very difficult to keep up with what's being said. I had to like pause and rewind to be like, wait, what was that? Did he just, all these little details he's pointing out? And I mean, the amount of like little detail in his work is crazy anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less from.
No, I wasn't surprised.
Robert Eggers there.
Yeah, going to see Substance tomorrow. Very excited to check that out.
Yep, I've seen the Substance.
Yeah,
I love the Substance.
Forward to it.
I watched it. So I'd been trying to track down this screener, or at least a press screening, for weeks. Since it really had its trailer drop, and nothing. I was just getting shut out. And then we had a Fright Fest, which was showing it, but they weren't giving out screeners. And I was like, damn, like I'm not going to get to see this movie until it comes out. And in our area, there weren't any screenings, like just public ones. So I was like, oh no.
Oh, okay.
So I'm really going to have to wait on this movie. But luckily, they came through big time, and we got a screener, sat down and watched it. Completely blown away. Absolutely love it.
Very excited. Yeah. Yes. I may do a video on it. I'm not quite sure yet. I might wind up doing it.
You're going to want to do when you're done.
Yeah. It may be one of those things, though, from the sounds of it, that I may want to wait and do like an in-depth thing on it. Yeah, in terms of things that are in the works right now, I am editing the Terrifier 2 video, which has been, it's hit over 40 minutes long now. So that's the longest one in quite some time. But then also have the dreaded Lake Mungo video in the works, which I've been procrastinating making for a very long time, and I'm doing it. Script is almost done. And then The Witch was the other one that's coming up. So I've got a couple big videos from that have been intimidating me for a long time coming up, doing, Terrifier 2, Lake Mungo, and The Witch. Back to back is spooky, but I'm trying it.
I mean, those are definitely ones that I know you and I have been talking about forever that you were going to cover. So
absolutely,
that's been just, I think, since before your big boost, that was something that was gonna take over. Hey, looks like we got a little something here.
Have we got him in?
Let me
you see he was in there, or
hey,
I did, and but I was just texted you if you wanted me to bring him in, or you wanted me to wait till see where you were at. So.
Dude, don't wait on me. Next time, just go for it, because it's my issue. I'll fix it on my end. That way, you guys don't sacrifice everybody waiting. I feel bad.
No, you're good. You're good. It's understandable. We got a little bit of a, like we already told him, a little
Fuck
hiccup with
StreamYard. Don't
StreamYard.
use it. It's a terrible service. And yeah, don't pay a fucking dollar for it. Seriously.
Yeah, I didn't want to make that a whole talking point tonight, but I mean, I've been ranting and raving to Luke about their adjustment to their model. It's very anti-consumer. It's very not friendly.
Don't worry, Alex. They
I'm
just
a little
raised the
upset
price.
about it.
Yeah, I know. Only $88 a month? My God. Well, fuck, maybe I should just not eat.
Sorry, is it $88 a month?
$88 a month, and you're getting just a cup. The biggest thing that you're getting, a bonus
It's
to
the
that
dick in the
is
ass. That's
4K local
Unless you
recording.
like that.
So you
Do
can't
you
like,
have to
stream
do that,
in
or is there
4K.
like a lower? Can you still just stick with like?
There's a lower tier, but it's the same price as what we were paying for the advanced tier. So it's $45, $80, and then like $200.
I didn't realize StreamYard was that expensive.
It's pricey. It's not fun. It
Jeez.
wasn't always pricey. It wasn't always that bad.
All
But
right.
Alex, why don't you do the little intro here for our guest, since this is something I know you've been working up on.
Is he here?
He is. He's in
He's
there.
in,
So
yeah.
Okay.
I'll let him in.
Okay, I
as
thought
soon
he
as
like
you're
was
ready.
like, what the fuck's going on?
Nope. He's
He's in here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. This is John Ainslie, who is the director of Do Not Disturb from 2022. He is a Canadian director. He's kind of a badass, very open, honest, very chill guy. I'm very honored to have him here because he's a very, very cool person. And you should watch this movie because I told you guys for weeks at a
I
time
watched
to
it,
watch it. So
and I was impressed. I was pretty blown away by it. I'm not gonna lie. Very
I
sick,
told-
very cool. I watched this and The Substance like
we'll
within a
let
couple
him
days
know
of each
because,
other.
like, yeah, don't tell me.
Oh, I will. So I'm just gonna let him in then for you. So everybody,
All right.
welcome the great John Ainslie.
Don't fuck
welcome,
up, John.
sir. Welcome.
Hey everyone.
What's going
What's up,
on, man?
man?
Sorry for all the technical difficulties.
No, it's-
as you've heard, life is just kind of gone
Jesus
crazy for us
Christ.
for a minute.
I am so sorry, John.
I have for like a year. Every time I answer my phone, I go through this thing when it's ringing, and I shove my earbuds in to be able to talk on the earbuds. Or I'm listening to music already on the earbuds, and I answer my phone, and does it connect to the earbuds? No,
No.
it connects to the phone. And then I have this like, everyone hangs up on me.
It's
Yeah.
weird. 'Cause we have this technology, and you would think that no,
We don't. We don't have this technology. We think we have the illusion of technology.
yeah, they let
Anyway,
us
hello,
think
everyone.
that we are, yeah. But
But
yeah, John, so how are you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm
You
good.
been working on anything? You just regular working or dreaming or what's going on?
I'm working on find. Well, I'm basically a fancy version of a panhandler, and I go from producer to producer to studio begging for money, and I'm always asking for too much and not getting anything. And apparently, if you read the trades, the industry is collapsing, and we're going to be talking about TikTok videos in 2 years instead of movies. So,
Oh yeah, because that's what everybody wants.
Totally.
well, apparently it is.
Part 78 of the movie.
Dude, some of the stuff it's like.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I mean, in at least, like, I don't think I'm like a true horror director in a sense. I mean, everything I've done is horror, but I think there's two different types of, like, the horror that the people who have money that want to make is not the horror that horror fans want to see or the horror directors want to direct. I think there's like a kind of disconnect there, and I'm struggling with that a bit, but I'll get there. I've always gotten there. So did you bet if you just don't, if there's someone gave me some advice at the beginning of my career, is let's just keep trying. If you just keep pushing and don't go away, the people you're competing with will die or quit, and you'll be all that's left. So just keep going.
That's what I did with my band, actually, because we were like the type of music that we were doing was dying out.
Yeah.
As we were coming in, and we were like, we'll just be the best at that then.
Well, my most successful band was music from the 60s, and that was in the 90s. So
yeah, he plays too. He writes music as well. So
Hell yeah.
looks like someone watched your movie here too. Necro
Oh, yeah.
Mechanical. What do you say here?
Oh, let's see. We'll put it up here for you.
Oh, yeah.
Just finished watching Do Not Disturb. It was like when you take drugs and you don't feel anything, so you take more and you realize that's a lot.
That was the 10. That was the goal.
Hell yeah.
It's funny because I just watched the episode of Entourage where they go out to the Joshua Park and I think they take shrooms, not peyote. But I was like, I'd forgotten all about it, so
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to watch. But yeah, I mean, you were saying you watched it with The Substance. I think I haven't seen The Substance, but based on the trailer, I imagine they're a good pairing.
Yeah, seriously, shockingly, because like I said, I didn't know in the intro. I was talking about how I just didn't know if I was going to get to see the substance. So when I knew I had to watch this to gear up for it, it was a nice kind of 2 days in between the features. But it was like, man, both these movies really got me in the sense of just people doing horrible shit to their own bodies and other people's bodies, and it's a lot of fun. It's good stuff. I appreciate it. So yeah, but no, I was really impressed, man. I mean, Alex has been talking about your film for quite some time. He's definitely been recommending it, and when he said that he was bringing you on, I was like, well, no time like the present. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad I got to sit down and check it out, because it is really impressive. And this was originally, it came out in 2022 was when it hit its official run, or
It has been the most drawn out release in the history of cinema, I think. It's still being released. So it opened at Popcorn Frights and Fright Fest, I think like a week later or within 5 days in 2022. Would have been 2022 because we shot in 2021. And then last November, it did a small theatrical in New York, LA. And then opened VOD. Stuff went on in Canada, but I'm not sure. It seemed to play everywhere in Canada for like 3 months, and then, but I don't exactly know. And then
Sometime this year,
DVD last Christmas, I think, or last December, which is awesome. I love that I'm still getting DVD. And then at some point this year or early next year, it will be on Shudder, and AVOD will follow. So
there we go.
I mean, for me, it's like just being able to have DVDs, because I'm at the point, my career is starting at the point where people don't have a lot of DVDs. I mean, if I wasn't doing genre, there wouldn't be DVDs. I don't think dramas are getting DVDs. I don't know if comedies are, but I know horrors are, right? And like that's kind of fun. And it's like DVD commentaries is like,
hell, horror's still getting
love
VHS
commentaries.
if you go to the right company. So you can still pick up new movies on VHS, which is super cool.
Yeah. I would love one. I would love a VHS, even though I have nothing to play it on, but I still have, it's funny because I just looked up in my first short film ever.
Oh, nice.
It's sitting here on SVHS.
Did you have like an old school deck? Like like the old VHS? My dad used to be a videographer. That's why.
Yeah, well, my uncle had one of those. That's where I first started filming, and it was like a briefcase for the VCR you carried around, and the camera was on your shoulder, and there was like a cable like that. But no, this was I went to a school that happened to be the only French language school in the area, so it had tons of funding. And one of the things they bought was this professional video editing suite. And so no one knew how to use it, and I just skipped out of class and figured it out. And that was I learned how to edit video by cutting. I cut Pulp Fiction linear just to learn and just to watch it. And and it's funny because I just watched Pulp Fiction again a month or two ago and realized I fucked up one of the scenes. I had the timeline off, and it's like
no one will ever know that, right?
Right? No one's ever. I mean, I don't know where they. And then we used to redub episodes of Growing Pains just with like.
Just out of curiosity,
did
you just call it fiction?
Yeah, it was just learning how to do it. And so anyways, we shot a video, and that's funny because Pat White, who was one of my producers on Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer, and he was an EP on Do Not Disturb, that's where I met him. I was filming in the hallway near the cafeteria, and I needed an actor, and he was just sitting there. I was like, do you want to act in film? He's like, sure. And we shot it, and that was the beginning of a lifelong friendship, apparently.
That's super cool.
Hell yeah. And I just got to ask, so to kind of get into your film a little bit here, and then we'll kind of run into the show, but I figure we'll talk a little bit about Do Not Disturb. So I think, do we want to do spoilers? Because I mean, I know we've been prepping people.
Probably not.
John, I regret to say I have not gotten around to seeing your movie yet. And I'm hoping that we can ride off some like Canadian camaraderie here. And
yeah, I figured you would be the first.
Are you in Canada?
Yeah, I'm Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you haven't seen it.
Wow. Okay. Well.
Hey, you know what? It's like that for everything, isn't it? It's like
sometimes.
No, but I mean that played.
So I just checked. It looks like I can like rent it on YouTube and Apple TV and all that. So I can access it. So I'm gonna give it a watch over the next little while. But I
can email you a streamer too if you want. I can email you like a Vimeo link if you like.
I mean, sure. Yeah, thanks, man.
I don't get back end on Canadian sales anyway. So
Oh, okay.
the 2
We'll just do
cents
that
your
then.
sale would mean to me
Yeah,
is
just do that then.
no,
That would be great.
it didn't. I was kind of like interesting because we shot in Canada, and outside of, I think we did a few, like a week down here in Miami, and but then we didn't play one festival in Canada.
Where did you shoot in Canada?
Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay.
Because if you
Cool.
want to find Miami in Canada,
Right.
Sault Ste. Marie is the place.
Hmm.
It's
Hell yeah.
it's a
and I
very
thought-
crazy place.
There's a scene with the motorboats, and I thought he did that himself at first. I was like, "Damn it, what the hell?" I was like, "How did you do that?" I was like, because it was a big drone shot with the heart.
Yeah. That was an Adobe stock, I think.
It's perfect though. That was so
I know,
good.
because I saw it. I'm like, it's in the movie no matter what. And I thought the producers would be like, "That's too cheesy," but they loved it.
Yeah, that's the type of humor it is in a way, because it's like a serious but yet kind of funny, but also kind of like devastating in some ways. But by the end of the movie, it's kind of a happy movie in a way too. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a feel-good movie if you don't mind murder.
Yep. Yeah, very feel good. Very, very fun.
It is in a way.
It is.
I'm looking forward to this.
No, but my sense of humor is pretty unique, and it's funny because I was talking about another script with a producer, and he said, like, this scene, I don't really get it. It's like it's supposed to be serious, but it's kind of a funny line. And I was like, why don't you just watch Do Not Disturb, and you'll understand that scene better. So.
No, absolutely. And one of the angles that I really found interesting here, because I've seen this done again this year, and I wasn't huge on that outing, but I thought that you nailed it, was kind of having this this couple, and this isn't a spoiler, but they're kind of going through some stuff. They're kind of dealing with a little bit of their own insecurities, their, I guess, toxic relationship angle that you kind of approach with it. And I gotta ask, like, where did the story start for you? Was it that always, or were they more of a happy couple to start that kind of fell into this situation, or was it more of a, no, these guys are always going to be on the rocks, there's always going to be some issues?
I think generally in my world, good movies have tension, and so no one's ever happy in my movies, or maybe that's just my outlook on life. But no, I mean, there had to be some conflict, and it was complicated. I knew he was not going to be a good person. And finding her was the hard part, because if she was too much of a goody two shoes, he wouldn't buy that she would ever do the drugs. If she was too eager, then it would just not counter him. But yeah, I mean, toxic relationships are far more entertaining than joyful ones, I think.
Vicariously.
No, I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Unless you're in one. Although, you know.
And I think that it's interesting to watch it all kind of play out the way the film goes. And I'm just really dancing around things because I don't want to spoil. But like I think that you really feel for each of the characters, and I do love the kind of back and forth. And I like that you were even talking about having that kind of dynamic between them of just like you wanted her to come off a bit convincing and him to come off as not as much of a dickhead. So it's like I kind of I liked the little back and forth that each character had, because there were moments where it's like I'm totally on his side, I'm totally on her side, and I think that's the best part. And I think like you'll see that work with films like Midsummer, where everybody compliments that film and how it talks about a kind of a rocky ending of a relationship. And this is definitely one of the better ones I've seen in recent memory, in my opinion. I felt like this really felt more authentic, and it added more to the actual drug substance chewing of people stuff. So it gets really fun.
The narcotic fun is I just find that like relationships, like the longer you're in a relationship, the more honest you are, and the more honest you are is generally around negativity in my mind. And then and so I think it's like that comfort when they like it's the open scene. It's all they're on vacation and it's happy, but it's all bitching like about everything, because you play these repetitive patterns in relationships.
Such a sad reality, isn't it?
It is. It's like you got to look at yourself and be like, fuck, it's so humiliating.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Alex, you got a couple for him, because I don't want to hog the whole thing. So.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I kind of know why he did it, because we talked about it in my interview with him about maybe, I don't know if he should say it or not, but like I asked him like what was the sort of inspiration, because I was like, did you have a bad relationship? And he was like, no, I was the bad relationship.
Well, I did have a bad one too, but It's based on like 3 relationships and then fictionalized for entertainment purposes. So yeah, I mean, you know, like I think when you're young, you do stupid shit, and especially if you're like young and obsessive, you do even stupider shit. And then I had a brief relationship with a crazy person, so and you know, and it's not like I did anything to help the situation. My behavior only amplified it. So.
Sure.
I think
But
that's
you
how
know,
it
when you're
works for
21, you're
everybody.
not supposed to be experienced in life, and we didn't have social media to you know, socialize us. We were just learning as we went back in the day.
No, absolutely. I feel you there, and I think that's I do think that as far as this story goes, you know, not to just completely harp on the relationship angle, but it's, I mean, it's the heart of the film, really. So
Yeah.
it's like that's really what everything builds off of. I do really think that where my biggest takeaway from this was, again, that even though you kind of see these characters going through and doing heinous things, whether it's to each other or around surroundings, it's just, I think that the fact that they were very, like you said, honest. I think at one point, really, when you get down to that third act, and it's kind of like, you know, they have to really come to terms with who they are, what they've done to each other, and things like that. It is kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off, and I feel like that's something that everybody's had to do in a relationship at least once, maybe twice, depending on how many people you've been with. I know I've had hard conversations with my wife before. We've been together since 10th grade, so it's like, you know,
wow.
we've spent a lot of time together of just having tough conversations, growing up together, and just kind of working through what we call life. So, you know,
Yeah.
beyond the actual like body horror cannibal stuff that is introduced into the film, I think that it's really got a really strong, heartfelt message, and I definitely employ that, because that was kind of the thing that shocked me, because when you read about the film, when you hear everything, unless you're watching Alex's review, it seems like everybody focuses on the cannibalistic side of it and the narcotic side of it, but there's so much more to that actual story that I found myself kind of being more enticed by. So is that something you said early on, that you were like kind of, you wouldn't categorize yourself as a horror filmmaker? I mean, you've made horror films, but you want to do stuff. Do you ever see yourself doing more of a drama, kind of taking the relationship angle, or kind of going into something else?
I try, but everything gets bloody at a certain point. So whether it's like, I don't stick to horror, I just say genre, because I think what I do is not, I won't, it's not that it's not serious enough. It's just that I don't, and it's not that I don't take film serious, but I do think that it's sort of, everything I do is sort of tongue in cheek, and that invariably leads to like absurd situation. It's funny because my next one, or what I want to be my next one, is actually, it's the first time I'm going to make a movie that it's not completely psychological, and I mean, it is, but it's physical, and I want to do a really physical film with a lot of like physical combat, and like, you know, you might even call it an action, but it's still genre. I like genre. I like being able to play loose, and I don't like rules. And I think Tarantino, it falls into that category a little bit, and like that, I mean, he kind of created that category in a lot of ways in modern cinema, of just this like comedic bloody violence, and there's enough character to take them serious, but I mean, they don't talk normal, and like they talk like it's a movie, but you still watch it like his films are really unique in that way. And I don't do dialogue that way or that well, and I'm not going to try to, but I think it's the feeling of like, you know, shooting a guy in the face, and it's just kind of like, oops, you know, like that attitude is, I think, the closest to where I live. And you know,
so
It's
more,
funny that
you
you
would
say
say more
that, by the way.
circumstantial violence rather than intentional.
I think there's a big disconnect between like the people, and I won't say the producers, but I just mean like the way they distribute horror films, as though it's still the 80s, and horror films are this weird category in Blockbuster, which that doesn't really exist. They're sort of like, they've gone in their own world, and horror films have turned into genre films that combine many things and go anywhere and really push the limit as much or as more so than any other type of movie, in my opinion.
100%. I think a great example of that would be, like, I just talked about it in a video I did for Bone Tomahawk, where it's like, it is a pure Western. and then you get to like the last. Well, I guess there's a couple scenes at the beginning, but it's a pure Western until you get to the last like 20 minutes of the movie, and then it just goes into pure cannibal horror, like we're just slicing people up in a cave. And you know, I think that's a perfect example of just like how horror kind of just added that extra juice to a film that made it something different, something special.
Or like Alien, which is a sci-fi movie technically, but it's really
Right.
horror, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's so many arguments over that in general. Like even horror fans will say that it's not a horror movie. Like they're like, no,
it's
that
the
is
strange thing,
sci-fi.
like, some people just like categories, and some people like, you know. And I think especially the old school. I don't know about young people, but like I know because we all grew up going to video stores and like there's the comedy aisle, there's the horror, and now you go on to streamers. Every movie is like I go on to Netflix. I think there's 10 movies. Every movie is in every single category.
Yeah.
I
And it
hate
drives
that.
me
You
nuts.
know,
I'm like, why am I paying for this? There's nothing on. It's
I feel like you just ripped that complaint right out of my brain because I have silently held that to myself. Like, you know how many times I've gone on streaming services and done that where I'm just like, why is this in the same category as this? Like, what the fuck is it? And it's just like I've never vocalized that before. That's awesome. I'm
like
glad I'm
Bad
not alone.
Boys. Like Bad Boys was like it's an action movie. That's it. It's not an action movie and a comedy movie and a genre. Like it is in every because they want you to watch it.
Yeah,
But eventually it's like, oh, we only. But I don't know why Netflix decides that they want to give you the impression they have 12 films,
I
and
don't
yet they
right.
want you to pay a monthly fee, and you're like, well,
It has
it's
to be
awesome, you know.
entertaining. It
It's
has to
weird.
get
It's
every
so
person
weird.
in the door.
Like
I don't
even
think
Shudder,
Netflix
which is
even knows
all
what they're
one
doing.
category.
I think they
has
think they're Steven
different-
Spielberg, maybe.
I don't know what it is. I have no clue. And yet they brag about having this huge library. But
O has a question for you, John.
Yes, I was gonna.
Have you ever heard of Lucifer Valentine or any of his films?
no.
Okay. He did the Vomit Dolls trilogy, which I don't know why O's asking this question. It's such a fucking obscure
Oh,
question.
loves to
The
talk
hell
about
is
this.
I'm gonna
Vomit
write it down. I'm
Dolls?
gonna write it down.
You do not want to.
I'm
I do. I'll
googling
watch
this.
anything.
Oh, John, this is bad.
Is
It's
this
Well,
Vomit
we
Dolls or
do wanna watch
Slaughtered
it
Vomit
more.
Dolls?
Slaughtered Vomit Dolls is the sequel.
Slaughtered Vomit
Evan.
Dolls.
No,
That's
I
a
don't
pretty
know.
cool cover.
Yeah, the movie.
Here, I'll actually go to the chat. There were a couple of questions in here that were intriguing. So, Josh here says most people compliment Midsummer. Yes, absolutely. But then he had a question for you, there, John. Does the film work in a linear fashion when it comes
Pulp
to
Fiction.
Pulp Fiction?
Oh, I don't remember. I don't even know if I watched it after cutting it. That's the funny thing.
You're just like, here it
Learn
is.
how
It's
to
done.
What you realize when you cut it linear is it's Bruce Willis's story. The rest is all peripheral, right? Like, it's really the story of Bruce setting up this boxing match and ripping off Marcellus Wallace and then getting away with it. Because the end is him riding off on the Harley with the girl, right?
That's true. That is true.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched that. I told
It's
myself I was gonna pick it up on 4K and watch it when it came out, but
I got it here on
never got around to it.
4K.
I hadn't watched it in a few years, and it was I loved it. And then watching it sort of revealed how much I ripped off from it in a lot of ways.
It's one of those things. Tarantino, I'll always go see whatever he produces. I mean, I feel like every person who wants to be a filmmaker, screenwriter, that at one point in your young life, you idolize Tarantino, and you're like, "Yep, I'm gonna be just like that. I'm gonna do that as a filmmaker."
I was 16 or 17 when Pulp Fiction came out, and I lived in not a small town, but a small city in Canada that never heard of Reservoir Dogs. And my buddy was like, "Oh, let's go see this movie with John Travolta." I was like, "Fuck that! I'm not going to see no John Travolta movie." And then he convinced me, and we went. And I remember sitting there, and the Dick Dale comes on, and then Kool and the Gang, and they're changing the radio in the credit sequence, which is I also do that in Do Not Disturb.
Mm-hmm.
I don't change the radio station, but I lower the volume, and it becomes diegetic, and then it becomes back to music score. So I kind of did that intentionally with Pulp Fiction in mind, but and there's a lot of other things like with the t-shirt, the way before there's a scene where the couple go into a party, and I shoot it. I matched the framing from the Travolta and Sam Jackson scene before the someone's pounding on my door. I matched that, and then it's so I shot it the same way. And
heck yeah. No, I definitely.
You have to get that?
No, it's just my kid.
Oh,
Oh, okay. I got you. I was like,
it's the police. Open up.
That threw me off there. I was like, wait a second. I mean, we'll let you
No,
go.
it's my kid wanting to go to
Just
bed
a
probably.
crazed fan.
Gotcha. Yeah, they're breaking down the door. They're like,
Crazy
this is
fan,
in Canada, friend.
That's the one thing
Uh,
about making the movies I make. My kids don't share in them. So
John, I was going to say, when you mentioned like you like to keep yourself a little bit open, Ryan Prowse, I don't know if you know who that is.
yeah, I don't know.
You
him
know who he
personally.
is? Okay, well, yeah,
I don't know
I think we
personally,
might have
but yeah.
talked about it before,
Yeah.
but he did Low Life, and he was saying that like he loves horror, but he doesn't
Yeah.
want to like box himself in just in horror because he also likes crime thrillers and
Yeah.
like, you know, and that's definitely Quentin Tarantino's thing is he likes that crime thriller kind of vibe thing. So
I just don't think you have to. I like,
Mhm.
especially
Yeah, it's a
now.
good idea.
So I'm looking for a picture to show you guys.
I'm seeing so many movies that like twist it, like they're doing the M Night thing kind of like early, like in the second act or the third act sometimes, you know,
Or like,
Who did that?
or in the first 10
Mhm.
minutes. I've seen one recently that just like all of a sudden you're just like, okay, this is a completely different movie. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, Evan's right.
the-
Cuckoo kind of does that too, where
Yeah,
it's like
totally.
it is a horror like through most of it, and then it just switches to almost like a science fiction kind of action flick by the
or
end of it.
Abigail kind of switches gears at one point too.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yep.
I was gonna ask John, like with the obviously being a filmmaker, working in the industry today, what are some recent films that you've seen? Would you say over the last, let's say, 5 years that have really impressed you, or kind of been one of those things where you're
5
just like, wow,
years.
yeah,
Wow. Now you're hurting. It's funny. Like I watch old stuff because I like it's interesting because right now I'm watching Miami Vice again because that's the 40th anniversary. I live in Miami, so I'm like watching,
nice.
which I'm really enjoying, way more than I thought I would.
Really?
Yeah, it's good. Like it's still like it's square screen television, but it's cinematic. Like there's flares of Michael Mann in it that is unlike any other television from that era, and it'll cut away to like music, like 4-minute music montage scenes, but television doesn't do that. Like, and it's interesting, like living in Miami and seeing Miami and Miami Vice and how different it is. It's so barren and there's no people. It's crazy. But what have I seen lately that I've really liked? I don't know. Name me some movies. I don't know. I just went through a crazy year too, where I didn't watch much of anything. I've been watching television, and then I spent 2021 head buried in this movie and working on 2 shows. So it's funny, like when you start making stuff, you don't watch stuff oftentimes.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I do the same thing with music when I was doing music because you get fatigued. It's a little too much. You kind of watch something else.
Well, that's what I'm watching. My Vice or like Entourage or like, and then I lost kind of 9 months of my life to Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
All my screen time went to that game, and I played it twice back to back over 9 months, and I was like,
That's a long game to do that with, man.
I haven't even beaten it
It
yet,
is.
so yeah,
Oh my
kudos.
and because halfway through the first play, I was like, okay, this game's too good. I'm gonna have to just rush through it and then do it again slowly because
Yeah.
it's like I can't absorb it. It's too big, and I hear I don't know if they are making a movie or people want them to make a movie, but
I know it's
Probably.
been a lot of people want them to
Be a
make a movie
long-ass
out of it.
movie.
If I had to say there's anything talking Tarantino, talking things that just kind of feel within that genre space of just kind of blending things. The Last Stop in Yuma County is one from this past year that I would definitely recommend checking out. I think that movie is brilliant. I absolutely love it. It's Francis Galuppi. He's going to be doing a new Evil Dead film here. And I love this movie. It's essentially just to give you a brief description, it's like a knife salesman winds up at a gas station with a motel and then a diner across the way. They're out of gas. They're waiting for the gas truck to show up. So he goes and sits in the diner. And then you start meeting all these characters. And unfortunately for them, 2 of those characters just happen to have just robbed a bank. And before you know it, everybody starts to kind of find out who these fellows are, and then leads to some pretty interesting stuff. Lots of guns, lots of violence, lots of fun.
Very Tarantino influenced a little
Coded
bit there
for sure. Oh yeah.
What was I going to say? You said you're watching Miami
Vice.
Vice. Is Cops the one that killed that show?
I think that show Cops inspired that because the producer, apparently the show was birthed with him writing, Yurkovich writing Cops meets MTV,
Right.
and
That's what
then
I was.
Michael Mann took the rest. But
I was
yeah.
just curious because I just saw a quip on that recently, and it made me think of that. So I didn't want to forget before I said it. But
on the Canada front, I just watched In a Violent Nature.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, there you go. What'd you think of that one?
I liked it. I liked the tone of I mean, I could care less about the story or anything, but the tracking shots I could watch for a long time. And like,
Right.
I know Ryan Barrett, the actor who played Johnny, is like, he lived like a few blocks from me when I lived in Toronto.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's funny. Like we knew each other. He also, like, that guy. I didn't become friends until like kind of like the year before I left. And I have kids, he doesn't, so it's like I can't really have friends. But he's good. I gave him like I had all doubles of DVDs, so I left it with him because he's such a like. I just love to see him succeed because he's just such a true like movie fan, like cinema fan.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that guy loves movies, and
Very nice guy. I actually got to
yeah.
interview him for that when it was making its rounds in theaters. So
yeah, and he's
nice dude.
I'm so happy to see his success because he's been grinding it in the non-union Toronto actor world for a long time. So it's well deserved. I mean, he was Drownsman, so it's not the first time he's played a.
I just saw him in Hyperborean at the festivals, which is Tony Burgess's movie.
Yeah.
Which is another Canadian who did Pontypool, by the way, who someone just wrote in the chat. But yeah, no, he's got a pretty wide range, man. Like I was pretty impressed with like how he did it.
Well, he was in I first saw him in Demolisher, which Gabe Carrera's feature, who's good friends with him. And actually, it's funny because I just produced a film with Gabe that we shot. Gabe's editing it right now, so that's kind of exciting to have something to share with people again. If I can ever get Do Not Disturb out the door, it feels like it's like dragging through my. I mean, what is it? 2025 almost, and I've been.
Well, you get a wider net. That's all.
It's because it's like, I built the festival run in 2022 and I've been going for 3 years straight. Like,
yeah, that's crazy, man.
And I started writing it in 2012. It's like, get this thing out of my life.
Where can we find Cold Feet? Said.
Oh, the short film?
Yeah.
You can probably go to my website, Ainslie.com, and I think I've got a Vimeo link there for free.
Heck yeah, awesome.
I think I'm pretty sure. If not, then just find my Vimeo page through my website, and I'm positive that Cold Feet's there.
Alex, can I ask you something?
Yeah. Sure.
When O mentioned Lucifer Valentine, I got curious, and I've been reading about his work. What is this?
Yeah, it's.
Have you seen these?
It's definitely not a church film.
Do I have to look it up now?
Have you seen this trilogy?
I mean, yeah, I've seen parts of it. I don't watch. It's not something
How is it?
watch.
Is it good?
Okay?
Is it as good as?
Is it good? No.
Is it as good as Visitor Q?
I mean, it's pretty much like if. Okay, let's put it this way: if you walked into a serial killer's house, and there was something on the TV,
right,
that would probably be it.
Yeah.
or I don't know. I think they'd be watching Baywatch.
From what I've been reading, yeah,
or cartoons or some shit, right? Something that like that we would be innocuous.
I'm trying to think of the most fucked up. Like, I think Visitor Q might be up there with one of my like most disturbing films. It's not that crazy, but it's disturbing and it sits with you.
Takashi Miike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that
weird,
movie.
Man. It's what that guy who just like I vaguely remember the plot is just he's on the subway and someone hits him on the head and then moves in with him.
Don't they like videotape the family the entire time?
Yeah, because he's an interviewer and he goes like deep undercover. The year before he had gone deep undercover into gangland and was raped with his microphone live on television.
Right.
And then live with that shame.
They torture the family too. Like,
oh my god, that film! Yeah, because the mom's like a heroin addict who's also pregnant or something.
It's a hard watch. It's a little bit of a hard watch. Yeah.
Yeah, the bully like lights their house on fire.
Oh, so it's a fetish film with a horror element.
That's about what it sounds like. Yeah.
Oh my god, because that film opens with he's with clearly an underage prostitute, which is creepy enough as a scene. But then you realize it's his daughter, and the only way she'll see him is if he pays and goes through this whole thing. I think that's
I
how
re-
that film opens. It's a
I
weird
vaguely
film.
remember it feeling like a found footage film for whatever reason, because a lot of the footage is on camera.
Yeah, it's like video when the start of like 720 video and all that stuff. But I remember
Yeah.
I remember having to watch it because it was the most walked out of film in festival history, apparently. So I'm like, I
don't
gotta
know,
see
man.
that.
That would
I mean,
draw
it
me
ends
in.
when you watch, like, it ends with that whole, like, she's lactating and there's like fills the whole room up with milk and
Right.
and then he's like he's having sex with that woman and she dies. He strangles her and then she goes into rigor mortis and she's attached to him forever.
That's
because he's
right.
like,
Oh my
and he has
god,
to
dude! I
ask his
forgot
wife
about this.
to like pull this girl off of him.
If you like that,
Oh.
well, I don't
I
know.
gotta say,
Like,
I like it. I just like that film has stuck with me. That film and Polanski's The Tenant has stuck
I
with
love how
me.
casual dude, you talked about that like you were like recapping some Universal movie.
dude, I
Like,
mean,
yeah.
you can't forget it. That's like a hard thing to forget.
No, it's
I remember watching it one time, and that's how much of an impact it really does
Well,
have on you. You're
you
just like,
piqued
oh,
my
it is shocking.
interest.
Because it
I'm
opens
good.
with one of the most
I'll
shocking
pass.
scenes you'll ever see and gets worse. Every 10 minutes, it's like, how can they top this? And it
God,
I
I feel
don't
like such a bitch because I think about like disturbing movies recently. I'm like, yeah, the original Speak No Evil is probably the most disturbing thing I've seen recently.
Blair
that's
Witch.
probably one of Mike's
See,
craziest.
I thought I was basic because I was gonna say, well, like, you know, I've seen the ones everybody talks about, like Martyrs and fucking
Yeah.
a Serbian film and
That's
everything. A
surface
Serbian
level,
film
boy.
probably about as
Didn't
hard
a
as
Serbian
I'm
film
willing to
just
go.
get like another like extended cut? Like he was like,
Oh, I
I'm
don't
pretty
know.
sure.
I don't
I'm
need
pretty
to
sure they
see
just released
anymore.
another cut where he was
I'm
like, we have
good.
some more footage.
I'm good. By the third act of that movie, like
I've actually
when
never
when
seen
they do
it.
the reveal and they start taking those they start taking some
I'm,
pillowcases off heads. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
lovely.
there's
This is
a
a
new
great
cut.
movie.
The new
Which
cut
is
of it.
that's weird.
funny.
You also mentioned The Tenant too, which Roman Polanski did, which was based off the novel of Fernando Arrabal, who I just literally watched his
funny.
fucking. Speaking of fucking crazy
Oh.
messed up films, Viva la Muerte is it's got a full on bull killing in it, which is heinous, man. Like it is.
Nice.
Oh, it's I've seen Apocalypse Now. I can handle it.
Well,
Oh.
no, I think I've talked to you about that, Alex. Where it's just like all my friends, like my
Family
my
cinema
normal
classic.
friends are just like
Yes.
you're fucked, and then all my horror friend fans are like you're tame, and I'm like I get that because
Yeah.
like the films I watch, I'm just like
Yeah.
my goal is not to be the bloodiest.
Alex, Necromechanimal, always gonna mess that up. Has one for you. I have not heard of this film. Have you?
Atros. I'm gonna write this down. Too.
Atros?
Etros,
you-
yes, I have.
Yeah, because that's you're kind of our aficionado when it comes
Test
to
bed.
underground, disgusting, rough films. Alex has put himself through some shit.
Oh yeah,
so-
no, it's because I grew up with a bunch of tryhards when I was a kid, and we would just challenge each other to
Just,
watch.
yeah, like dares.
Yeah,
You
it
see,
really
That
is.
you won't watch it.
It
I did my
started
most-
with
It's just a movie.
Faces
It's
of
not gonna
Death,
hurt you.
and then it moved on.
Exactly. I think
That's
there's
like-
like genuinely, I think there's value in that. Like putting yourself through something where the whole time you're like, but then you get to walk away from it and you're kind of like,
Yeah.
okay.
I
It's
realized
almost
after
like
watching
bragging
that-
rights to a sense where you get to say, "I've seen this." Like
Sure,
I
but
can
I
tell
also-
you, I can talk about it.
I really do just think there's like sort of like a almost relieving thing after it's like dunking your head in a thing of cold water. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think when a movie can do that to you, because there's a lot of movies with disturbing scenes that don't mean anything because there's no character or it's not executed properly or
Yeah.
whatever. But when you watch a movie, like you watch a movie and you hear a noise in the other room and you're scared, that's pretty crazy. Like as a grown
awesome.
human, like, you know, like I love that feeling. I love doing that to people, but I love feeling it. And the more movies I
Mhm.
make, the less I feel it, which is sad. But
I
like,
just
you know,
talked
like on
about,
Do Not Disturb, we had, I won't, without spoiling it, the scene where she officially breaks up with him and it's over. There's music and
Lots of stuff going on.
blood, and then it's like
Watch
there's
the movie.
silence, and some guy was like, literally in that silence in the premiere, this theater was quiet, and then all of a sudden some guy was like, "What the fuck?" Super loud. I was like, "Oh man, I couldn't pay to have a guy
That's
like
awesome.
that," you
I
know.
was just gonna say that must have felt amazing.
There's
Yeah,
something to be said about these kind of like these moments in films, you know, because like I was watching, this movie, and I was like, I don't even know what to score it because it's not like it's something I enjoy. So what the fuck am I gonna, I can't just score that. But there's something so bold and so like real about it at the same time that I have to give it props for going there,
Yeah.
And the funny thing is when you research a lot of these guys, a lot of them are just chill. Like they're not even like weird or like they're
This
just
is how they deal
regular.
with the stuff. So then there's nothing like left afterwards. So like I've dealt with my shit. Like I'm good. I can
Yeah.
wander now.
A lot of them. I mean, I don't know.
Or they're just hiding it.
Yeah, right. They're really good at it. I'll mow your lawn.
I did feel gratified that well, not gratified, but last 2 weeks ago or so in Miami, there was like an influencer woman. I just saw the headline and I haven't dug too deep in it, but she went nuts on Tusibi and cocaine. And I think she ran 2 people over with her car and then stripped naked. The cop, yeah, it was like she went full on my movie. So I'm pretty
Bringing things to reality there for you.
if I would have put a "Do Not Disturb" bumper sticker on her car before she went nuts, would have been smart.
Wow.
Yeah,
Free marketing, I suppose.
I was gonna say, just going back to the disturbing films thing, there's something that Alex brought up about how it's like when you're young, you do that thing where you kind of try to one up each other all the time. And when I did that list on most brutal horror movies recently, I literally said 3 times through the list, I'm like, these are just my picks. I'm not going with the most extreme, the most intense, the most like I get it. There's gonna be movies that are more crazier than this. And I still get people commenting on there, man, all these movies fucking suck. Like they're all so weak.
That's
like,
inevitable.
Have you seen blah 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 where they have like a 20-minute rape scene? It's like, no.
Have you seen a Serbian film, huh, bro?
Or the original I Spit on Your Grave.
Yeah.
Right.
Always, but I mean that one's just fun in a lot of ways.
I actually like the remake too. It was pretty hard, pretty crazy.
I like the remake. It's not as classic, but there's some good. I don't want to call them. I guess
revenge. There's good revenge.
Yeah, there's parts of it that are still stuck in my head.
I've always been, as far as my horror stuff goes, like that's a subgenre that I've never been big on. So it's like I did not really care for the rape revenge stuff, but I can respect it as a genre. I get why some people like it, some people make it, but with the Substance just coming out, her first film is literally called Revenge. Yeah. And I am more interested now than ever because I'd heard it was great, but I knew the subject matter and it's just it's
pretty.
And I've just one of those. It's like I'm good. I don't need to put myself through that. But
my next film, well, it depends. I got 3 that I'm pitching, but the one I think is going to be my next one is a Revenge.
Okay, well there you go.
But it's a twist on it because it's about a woman who hides in the closet while her husband is beaten and abused, and then the couple has to like go through life with his shame and she has to get revenge for him. So
I like it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a same but different thing.
Yeah,
and it's fun because I wanted her to learn how to fight. Because I find these revenge movies like Jodie Foster and the Brave one, she just goes out and buys a gun, and it's like, okay, I realized that would be like the most logical way to do things. Like Death Wish does the same thing, which actually disturbing. That rape scene in Death Wish is pretty, and it's and what's disturbing about it is not the rape or the beating. What's disturbing about it is the spray painting when he spray paints her ass. And you're like, that is the most disturbing thing. And that movie, it's
so disrespectful.
Yeah, it is. The spray paint like a human being is like there's something really.
Like after you just did that, that's what you're gonna do. Okay.
Who's the actor? It's Jeffrey Goldblum, I think, that plays the attacker.
Yeah,
one of his
I remember
roles.
he talked about that scene and how like he was just like, I don't remember exactly what he said actually. But yeah, that was like one of the more brutal, moments in cinema history, and he did it. And he's not that type of guy, He's done like one movie where he was playing the devil, and he did a really good job at.
Young actors will do more than rich actors.
It's true.
That one and Last House on the Left.
Yeah, which I like both the remakes on that too.
Well, the thing about Last House on the Left is that they cut away from the rape. and you know it's brutal, but they cut away to the police that are within almost earshot and could stop it. And it's listening to the cops just have casual dialogue, and you know in your head that's going on, like, you know, half a mile away. And that's, I think that's a great scene, because you just sit there in futility, and you know,
It's been a while since I've watched the originals, man. Like there's some ones you don't watch very often.
No, it's funny. As I get older, I watch them less and less. And I used to watch movies over and over again. So now I'm watching. What am I watching over and over? I watch like action movies over and over again for some reason. But
Palate cleanser from your writing, probably.
just a little bit of like the most disturbing. If we want to get stuck on the disturbing stuff, it's just Ari Aster's short film.
Are you talking? Yep, I know what you're talking about.
The Strange Thing About the Johnsons.
Yeah. That's a great one. Like
brilliant.
That's probably my favorite film he's ever made.
Yeah, it's like
one
that's
of the
his first try, by the way. Like that's his first small short film. Like I was like, Jesus, like man, you're coming out.
Yeah, one of the few pieces of media I will say that I actually accept the incest, and I'm like, all right, this is entertaining enough that I'm into it. I'll put that and Old Boy. Old Boy wins, and the Wrong Turn movies. They all tackling the topic of incest, good fun.
Deliverance. Bingo, that took me to Deliverance now. Wrong Turn just takes me to Deliverance.
Oh yeah. No, I love that short film so much, just because again, it's like it takes the whole thing that you'd expect from a story like that and just twist it on its head in a way that I've never seen before.
You can see the seeds of Beau is Afraid in that movie too. Like that's definitely the closest he's gotten to like a feature length version of that.
Johnny recently said, that's the correct response.
I mean, I agree. I agree with you, Johnny. No, his second message.
Yeah.
There we are. And then,
that's the one I was responding to. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the appropriate response. I don't think anybody really, if there is somebody like, damn.
Because like, here's the thing. You can watch like a really gory movie, be like, dude, that kill was so sick. But if you watch a movie and you're like, bro, that rape was awesome.
Oh,
then you've got
Straw Dogs.
It's got some issues.
I
was gonna. Straw Dogs is one that I've seen.
Translate.
But I just like
pretty rough.
That is the thing that bugs me about I Spit on Your Grave is the poster, because like the movie takes itself pretty seriously, and then whoever did the marketing puts like they try to like make it sexy. You're like, no, this is the opposite message of the film.
Like I don't feel good after watching this movie. I don't think anybody's.
And then they have a picture of the girl's butt on the poster, and you're like, wait a minute, isn't that like we're trying not to sexualize this? But
there was the movie Gutterballs that I saw, which is the bowling alley killer, like slasher movie, and they turned a 15-minute. I don't want to say R. I'll just say R because I don't know if we're gonna get whatever, but scene, and they tried to turn it into a comedy. And it was like, I don't know about this right
it's
now.
tough to find some humor in that.
Yeah, like I don't know if this is where you find that joke you're looking for, but
like this is a good one.
Yeah, like you know what, I'm going to do something revolutionary.
Right. Well, why don't we?
Should we do
Why don't we meander into some of the news here? I just realized we've been talking about this for over an hour.
Yeah, we're in some dangerous territory right now.
Yeah, we're gonna really are.
Let's all get canceled.
I'm getting clipped for my incest comment apparently, so that says Artie, but
it'll just be my text.
I actually have a follow-up for this just because I don't know how big of fans you folks are of this series, but this past week it was reported that we're going to be getting a continuation to I guess it's just 2 films, I believe, but it's the Creep series with the Creep tapes, which is returning to Shudder for a limited series. Has everybody here seen them?
Ones, right?
Yeah, they're so
Mark
weird.
Duplass?
Like it's really there's two of them. It's just like the lead actor gives such a like uncanny performance. That's what I always found like made those movies so enjoyable, because every scene with him, you're just like unsure of what the hell is going on behind the words he's saying, which is what I found so intriguing. It's been years since I've seen them. I should revisit them before this starts up.
Yeah, the second one has a girl in it, I believe.
Yeah, the second one like leaned further into like the humor. It was a little like goofier
Yeah.
Mhm.
from what I remember. But
You found a friend or a love interest.
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
I like sequels like that.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they said
I was a
something
bigger
about
fan of the
their
first.
hair.
The first is creepier.
Mhm.
Go figure.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
right. But I still appreciate what they did with the second one. It's a nice expansion to the characters, like just his ideals and everything.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that it is, as far as like a twofer for horror films, especially in that found footage kind of genre, it's definitely something that I think a lot more people still need to check it out. I still feel like not
They're
as
very
many
good.
people
They're
have
both
seen
very
it.
good.
I think they're both very well made movies, especially when it comes to found footage, which again, Luke and I hardly paid attention to found footage. This was one of the few ones before we started the channel where we were like, actually giving found footage a shot. Because
I've
like,
always been a fan of found footage.
I love it. I
Yeah,
want to do
it's-
one, but it's so hard to do it originally, and like
Yeah, that's the
between-
issue. And I think
yeah.
the problem is like the simpler you keep found footage, the more effective it is. So like once there's been like 5 movies that took a really simple premise with found footage, then it gets really hard to try and find something that doesn't repeat any of those things.
It is like for me, Blair Witch, obviously, Paranormal Activity, and Man Bites Dog. It's really hard to
Oh,
top.
okay.
Like, Man Bites
Blair-
Dog is amazing.
Blair Witch, I'm right with you. Lake Mungo is the other one for me where I'm like that. I guess I don't know if that's
And
found
Wreck,
footage. It's
and
more of a
Wreck.
it's
documentary.
which I was gonna say, since we're at Fantastic Fest right now, there's a film that I was gonna mention as a part of this that I need you to check out, Evan, for sure. It's called Strange Harvest.
Did you watch it already? Or
Yes, it's very Lake Mungo
what
coded.
did I hear about this? I might have been talking to Ken about it.
Yeah, Sledgehammer Horror. They also got the screener for it because we were chatting about it a little bit.
I
but-
did a Terrifier 2 watch along with Ken. I think he was telling me about it then.
Yeah, this one's really good. So this is more mockumentary. So it's kind of like a true crime doc, kind of like an old Forensic Files
Well, that's like
episode
Lake
type
Mungo.
deal. Yeah, so it's like that. That's what their kind of setup is. But it's about this literal like serial killer who murdered in around California for like 2 decades, and then disappeared, completely fell off
Cool.
the face of the earth, and now he's kind of coming back. And there's kind of a surreal. I won't say what, but there's like a surrealist, supernatural kind of
I'll
a
keep an eye out for that.
twist
Yeah.
to it.
Feeling like I'm
It's-
back. You know,
yeah, feeling like I'm back.
John Wick intro.
Yeah, but it's good though. It's really well done. It's really good at getting under your skin. I wouldn't say it's as scary or gets under your skin as much as like Lake Mungo because they introduce a lot more. There's some stuff and there's some subject matter in there that gets a little dicey.
I mean,
but,
if you
like,
said it was going to
it's-
scare me more than Lake Mungo, I would say you're out of your
I
goddamn
doubt
mind.
that, but I think you'll appreciate it enough because I feel like mockumentary stuff is super underrated when it comes to like the found footage angles. And
I
things
mean,
like
so,
that
like,
we take.
To me, that's like the most scared I've ever been watching a movie was Lake Mungo, and that's a mockumentary. So
I
like,
think it's hard to
I'm-
nail. That's the problem. Try to make it as
Mhm.
authentic.
Oh,
as possible,
100%.
like the news and everything.
Yep.
Because
That
like
was-
I watched like the last broadcast or like
Last broadcast is
original-
interesting.
the
Mhm.
original Blair Witch, and it's like they kind of aren't as believable anymore because
Yeah.
you not just because you know it, but just like it's so outdated.
That was
Well,
the
that-
one complaint we had was we said that the news segments just felt very like these are people recreating the news. They're not like
Right.
In Lake Mungo
they're
or
not
Strange
making-
Harvest?
Strange Harvest. That
I
was
was
like
going to say because I
only
felt the
complaint I
opposite
had.
about Lake Mungo. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I see.
Cool.
When that Blair Witch came out, though, I remember people like I went to see it 5 times that week because more to like turn around and watch the audience because it was like these guys that were like ridiculing it at first and then like
Right.
nervous laughter towards the end and watching
Mhm.
people walk out and like questioning if it was real and how did their parents let them release this footage, and
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the magic, man.
Blair
The
Witch is
movie
phenomenal
whatever.
because you just never see anything. That's what I find so
Yes.
compelling about it. Like, I love when a movie convinces people when they remember it that they saw a bunch of really scary stuff in it. You go back and rewatch it, you're like, oh, you don't actually see much of it. Like, I was just recently, I did a video on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre recently. It's sort of a similar thing where people think about that movie. They're like, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of like the goriest movies of all time. And you go back and you watch it, it's like there's barely even any blood in that thing.
Nothing happens in the first hour. Like,
No.
Like,
Yeah.
And Blair Witch is a
Or-
similar thing. You never see anything in that movie. You were
It's-
supposed to at one point, but the actors were freaked out and forgot to pan to it. But
Well, even the hook shot, you never see the body
Yep.
go on the hook, and then
Yep.
that's like iconic.
totally.
But it's funny because you go back to those old movies, and we were talking about this with when we were writing Jack Brooks' Monster Slayer. It was like, oh, like how long? Because we can only afford so many effects, so it's like becomes like, when do we introduce it? Because if you start too soon, it's like the budget drops.
Yeah.
But we went back and watched Predator. And Predator doesn't show up for an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh,
And it's
no,
like,
not at all.
What is the movie about? And then it's there for 20 minutes and out. And it's like, the movie is called Predator. All I remember is this cool Predator. It's got maybe 5 scenes. Like, it's barely a cameo in its own movie. It's shocking.
That's
You had that
one of those
big old
things.
monster in there too. It was Robert England or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing, right? Because we couldn't afford Robert for more than 10 days. So
Yeah.
I wrote a now would probably be able to 5 days, but wrote a movie where because he becomes prosthetics, right? So you think he's in the whole movie, he's not, because it becomes this rubber monster, silicone monster, whatever it was.
I'm sure you even asked this. What was that like working with him?
I never went to set. I was like, I was
okay.
like my first feature, and I was like, if I go to set, I'm just gonna bring this nervous energy, and
That's very
I
respectable.
stayed
that you-
away.
Yeah.
So and I knew John. By that point, John had sort of like really dove into it. John Knott's director. So I was just like, I'll stay away. And then I saw it, I think at the Mix, and it was amazing. And then we saw it at Sitch's. Robert was there. We all went out for dinner, and he's like awesome. Like, he's just like the friendliest. It's funny because he was there with his wife, and she was so annoyed because he will not say no to anyone who stops him to talk, and everyone stops. Like, he's so famous in his own way, right? Like, and especially at Sitch's, he's famous. So, you go to dinner, it takes an hour to walk 15 minutes because he stops and talks to everyone. So
That's super nice. That's good to hear.
I've always said I think that Robert Englund, if I could meet like any one horror icon like that, it would be Robert Englund for sure.
He is an encyclopedia of film knowledge.
Yep.
Oh, I'm
Like,
sure.
he'll
I
start
mean,
talking
don't
about,
doubt
oh
that.
yeah, I saw this 1956 feature and the production designer, and he'll have her name, and I'd be like, oh, the makeup
God.
woman named Doretta, and I'm like, what? Like, how do you remember all this stuff?
I saw
That's
last
crazy.
year that documentary they did on him, and like they were just going through his whole career and just how much of a cinephile he is, just on everything, not even just horror. Like, he just fell into horror.
He never wanted to do horror, and he told me it was Sitch's where he was kind of not ashamed, but just it was beneath him to be this theatrical thespian, and having done Freddy Krueger, and they introduced at the theater, it was like, I think it was Richard Burton and some other classical actor, and the audience was just clapping, and it was like, and Robert Englund, it was Freddy Krueger, and the whole was like standing ovation for 5 minutes, and he's like, that was it, I'm done, I'm into horror now. Like,
You know what's funny?
ego takes over.
It's probably why they wanted him to do the host of that one show. What was that show that he did that was about like either murders or like ghost stories or something like that? He was like the host of it. Recent. It's just like recent, like within the last 5 years, kind of recent.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is,
Here,
but
I don't remember. I didn't watch it, but I remember like a little headline on it.
yeah, I don't know if I saw it on Shudder or not, but that's like where my gut goes. It's like
True
that,
Terror
It might be
from
that.
2020. Yeah.
It's definitely
see,
within the
it's,
last couple of years. I've watched quite a few episodes of it. It was either on Netflix or Shudder.
It was
Shudder.
looks
Did Shudder do the Eli Roth Masters of Horror, right?
they
Mhm.
did, yes. I'm trying to see where it premiered, but it's essentially, it says America's past teams with bizarre, mysterious stories that seem too incredible to be true, yet are documented in the archive of nation's newspapers. Sounds neat.
Yeah,
It
pretty
was actually
sure.
it was actually the Discovery Channel.
Yeah. Discovery got into horror. I don't know if they still are, but I mean, that's where when I did the Eli Roth stuff, it was for Discovery.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. That's why I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah, Discovery Plus, and then now it's on HBO. But
Yep.
it's weird. Like, I have HBO Max, and it's like, hey, it was like literally one day I turned on HBO Max. I was like, I wrote that show.
You're like, I worked.
No one told me it
so
was going to be
crazy.
on there.
Speaking of HBO Max, on a side note, I had the honor of getting to sit down and watch the new Salem's Lot last night.
Hmm.
Can you
It's a
talk about it?
Yeah, I can,
Is it
because
good?
we we talked about this a couple weeks ago, I think, when the trailer came out or whatever, or did we even just talk about it when
Oh,
the
you
news
did
was
tell
out?
me about this. Yeah.
It's, I gotta say, Luke and I differ on this very much, so our review
Okay.
is going to be interesting because he's not the biggest fan. I thought it was quite a bit of fun. I'm
So
not gonna lie.
I have not seen the original one. I've
What?
read the book, but I've
Um,
never seen the movie.
I lost hours of sleep because of the original
The
one.
kid.
Just waiting. That's the one where the woman is floating at the window.
It's the kid.
And
He's at
that
the
window
window.
was very similar to the window of my childhood bedroom,
Okay.
and I remember lying in
Ah.
bed, terrified until like 1 a.m, waiting for.
I just bought the Blu-ray, so I'm looking forward to check it out soon.
Now, as someone who's seen this one and the original, and I'm halfway through the book right now, I can say that scene that scared you, it does not work in this new one. They
Because in the old one, it didn't age well.
they CGI the hell out of it in this one, and they do a little bit of the thing that I liked about this though is as we get later into the film, without spoiling anything, they take some things, they kind of change them, but they do it to service the story, and I think to make it more compact, because I mean the original movie is like 4 hours to miniseries,
Really long.
so yeah, it's long as hell. And then this fucking the book is, God, how many pages is that, Evan? It's like
I don't remember,
the
like
audiobook's
600,
17
700, something
hours.
like
So
that.
like
I think it's like 600 or
I'm 8
700
hours
pages.
into it right now. Like, and it's interesting because the book it's like it's written in the same style as like Dracula, where it's like it's all like journal entries, letters, things like that. So how do you adapt that?
Good book
But
though. I
it
like
is
it.
good. I like it a lot. But this is I gotta say, it's not amazing. It's not something that I'm gonna say many
Well, when
people.
you said fun, it kind of made me go, oh, okay, so it's just it's like a, it's not
Yeah,
at
it's
that
got
level,
some,
but it's fun enough. So it's like,
it's not like as offensively bad as I thought it was going to be, just based off of the trailer and going into it and just hearing all the stuff behind the scenes
Also
about
been
how
pushed
the
back so
development
many
hell that it was
times.
in,
Yeah.
and just all the mess and how worried they were about it.
What's
I
this,
honestly can say that by the end of the film, I was sitting there saying, this was good little fun Stephen King adaptation. It's not perfect. It's not really scary. It's it's not going to do that to you, but hardly any of the books are as
do you
scary.
think it
The
kind of fills
adaptations
in
are
areas that they didn't touch in the original that they kind of make kind of cool?
not really. It changes them. They
Right, well,
decide
that's what I
to
mean.
simplify certain things, but they take their own approach with it. And
Okay.
that's what I kind of like, because it was almost like it wasn't redundant, as like, oh, I'm watching them recreate this scene from the original. They kind of do their own thing with it. And there's one element that I really loved towards the third act that I thought was really clever, but again, it's fun, it's not scary, so it's
Right.
it's neat. But I will say that Lewis Pullman, that guy's a fucking movie star. He has so much charisma in this fucking movie. I love him so much. I cannot wait to see what he does.
Okay, well, that's good
So
to hear.
I hope he does more stuff. And I will say, as a whole, I think the cast is really good. But the movie itself is okay, but it's very watchable. It's a good, I think it'll be a fun October watch. I'll say that.
So it's like a 7.
Closer to a 6, but yeah, I would say it's
all right.
So
yeah, be a little
There's
forgiving.
nothing wrong with a solid 6 every once in a
No.
while.
yeah,
I've given good
it's
movies
not
that I
bad.
rewatch.
It's it's not going to be like, especially if you have like an affinity for that original. Like if that movie actually scared you, or if that movie actually like is something that you grew up with and really loved. Like everybody has their own Stephen King miniseries. Mine was It. When I watched that movie scared the piss out of me. I liked the first one. I was not big on that second one.
When you go back to the CG ruining stuff, that's what I felt about that first.
Yep.
I don't know why they do it.
It's
Too
cool.
much.
I feel like
second one, man.
the second one
Takes
was,
me out of it.
way
like-
more upsetting about the CGI, for me at least. I felt like there were a couple scenes in that first one that were pretty rough towards the end with the CG, but for the most part, like I was pretty happy with it. But that second one, man. They just
Yeah,
I
but
need to
go
go back
so
and revisit it
hard
because
with
I haven't
it.
seen the miniseries or the newer ones in a very long time. So I need
I
to.
still think the miniseries holds up personally. I like it a lot.
Having
So,
read the book, I'm curious to see because it's my favorite book. So I want to see if it can kind of keep up to
Yep.
what I'm hoping
my
it will.
favorite. I recently just found a new favorite Stephen King book, and I just went through. Oh shit! What is it? Pet Cemetery this
That's
year.
his scariest book to
Oh,
me.
yeah.
His scariest one is Pet Cemetery.
Love it.
That's another scene that sticks with you for life is when
Oh fuck yeah!
the Achilles heel slash.
Oh, I
Oh,
was gonna say there's many. 'Cause
Oh yeah, but that one, I mean, the Zelda thing, like there's a lot of weird ones in
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
Zelda-
good movie.
the truck.
The movie was creepy, but there's something about the book with the way that he like portrays the rot of death that is so unsettling. Like he captures that like decay so well in the novel.
And that's what you can't do in film because you don't have the time.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's my thing with like if you watch Cold Feet, Do Not Disturb. I think, and if I get to make this other one, I'm really obsessed with cutting up dead bodies because it's like in movies.
Speaking
they
of
cut 'em
serial
up, it's
killers,
not a big
everyone.
deal. No, but it's just like you try to imagine. I mean, The Sopranos did it okay when they cut up Ralphie because it
Oh, yeah.
takes all day, but it's like that. It would take you a long time, and like it's one thing. And I get into Do Not Disturb where he tries to cut it up, but he can't because the smell, and it's like grossed out. And I do think that it's like we take for granted how complicated and like mentally it is to overcome.
You do a really good job in that and Do Not Disturb.
Yes,
It's like-
I
I
agree.
love that. I love how she gets mad too.
I,
I don't want to spoil it, but you know.
And I still have where am I? Ah, it's up there.
I
Body part.
It's the arm from the beach.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty
very
good.
nice.
Like,
No,
That
it
is
does.
pretty
Looks
good.
nice. I like it. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think like looking at after just finally getting around to going through the book of Pet Cemetery, any adaptation of that, even the original, which I loved, which I will say I have an odd story about because I saw that when I was a kid. I watched it the first time, enjoyed it. I wasn't afraid of it. But when I watched it the second time, that scene with Zelda, where she's like coming out of bed
That
and
scared the
walking
shit
up
out
to
of
the
me. Yeah.
camera. I don't know why. It scared me so bad the second time I saw
Really?
it that I had to turn off the movie.
it's
I
creepy.
turned it off that night. I don't know what it was. Something in the air. I was just like, no,
No,
this
it's
is too
creepy,
much.
man.
It caught me the first time.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember like nightmares from that one.
yeah, that scared the
The-
hell out
and
of
the
me.
only
It's
thing I can-
layered too, because
the
it's
only
like
It
your
builds.
someone you love, your family member is
Mhm.
like going through this, and like all you can think of him as a monster. So it's like this layered kind of emotion, a little bit, you
Yeah.
know.
The only thing I could think of was that like the first time I watched it, I was so caught into the story of it that like as a kid I was like, oh, I don't care. Like I'm just so excited to see
Yeah.
like how this wraps up. Like this is so cool. But then when I watched it the second time, knowing everything, it was like, oh, this can sit with me now. This is horrible. I'm so afraid right now. It's awful. Yeah, that is something that I think needs a mini series if you're going to do it right. Like I feel
I
like
think most
this
of his
stuff
novels
does,
get a
yeah,
miniseries way better than they fit movies. There's just
'cause,
too
like,
much going
you
on.
just need
Stand by
you
Me
need
is
like
the only
8
one.
hours.
yeah.
The
Stand by
short
Me is
stories
solid.
make great films.
Because like
Mhm.
the thing with
Agreed.
his writing is that like I think Christine is a great example where
Hmm.
John Carpenter's Christine is a great movie. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoy that movie. But like the John Carpenter film is about a haunted car. The book is not about a haunted car. The book is about like addiction and isolation and obsession and seeking connection and that kind of thing. And that's very hard to explore in a movie. Whereas in a miniseries, if you have the chance to
Yeah.
get into the details that the novel explores, and you can kind of flesh out those themes a little more. I think that's something that happens with a lot of King adaptations where like the
He's just very
thematic
descriptive too.
Yeah,
he goes
he
over
is,
a
but
lot.
yeah, and like the thematic
Dead Zone's a
core of
good
his
one,
movies
too.
doesn't get explored as well. Like I think Gerald's Game, Mike Flanagan did a phenomenal job at capturing like the point of Gerald's Game.
I never read that one though, so I don't know how to compare.
Great
it.
book.
I
It's
just
pretty
think-
similar. It doesn't like the movie didn't deviate too much. Although
is
in
it
the book, no, it's not too long.
No, it's actually not that bad.
If the
It's-
short ones like seem to work, it's like, and then
It's one of
or
his
you take
shorter
it
ones.
to the different like I'm trying to think of the Dead Zone because I haven't watched that in a while.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a good movie and a good
With,
book, so I don't know. And The Shining, but The Shining's not the book. So
The Shining's very different. The main difference in Gerald's game is that he's not called the Moonlight Man. He's called the Space Cowboy.
That's got some good creep too. That's a good. It's funny. I didn't expect much from Gerald's game when I turned it on,
Yeah.
and then it sort of like sunk into me as I watched it. I was like, "Oh, this is a good movie."
Do they also call Maurice? I'm sorry. The gangster of love.
Yeah. It took me a second.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I just want to mention this, and it's a little off topic, but I finally got to see The Crow, the remake that they did with Bill Skarsgård, and I will say that I didn't hate it. and like I didn't
start.
I just rewatched the first the original Crow, and I'll be honest, like it's kind of cringy at some parts, you know, but there are some moments in it that are genuinely interesting and fun and enjoyable. Ernie Hudson's one of those things in that movie for some reason. He's the only thing that grounds that movie, as a matter of fact.
I don't even remember him in that.
Yeah, he's the cop in the movie. But I saw when I saw the remake, the one thing they did differently was that they focused on the relationship a little bit more. So it wasn't just like, hey, everybody's dead and now he's the Crow. You know, it was like, hey, we're gonna go through the motions of why this girl's bad or he's bad, and they kind of make it kind of realistic. So I kind of liked it a little bit. It was nice to feel a little something different, but it doesn't flow that great. That's the problem. But the music is pretty fucking good. So I thought that was cool.
The original was done in the 90s where goth was sort of like emerging and becoming its own thing. So I think everything got extra gothic.
This surprisingly went for 80s goth, by the way.
I think we're ready for an 80s goth renaissance.
Right. Well, technically our scene, because I'm in the goth industrial scene because of my band and everything, it's turned into the goth scene now. And so it's, they listen to a lot of the 80s stuff, but there's so much new stuff out that has been, I think it's like Witch House and also like regular just goth stuff. But it's very electronic.
I do want to hit on a couple of these because the chat's been kind of going crazy with some stuff. So we got to go with some things. I want to talk about, so there's been a couple of other found footage things while we were talking found footage there for a minute that were mentioned. So says Long Pigs is a great Canadian found footage film.
I've heard that. Somebody else mentioned that recently.
And then
was it a Spooky Astronauts that did her thing? She watched that?
I have not seen that video, but I usually keep up with her stuff. I know it's Space Rocks, but I love Apollo 18. Apollo 18 is something that I've kind of thought about circling back to just because I own it. I have heard some interesting things. So it's like I think that because I've gotten more softer on found footage, it's like I think it deserves a watch from me. I want to see this one. I totally agree with. Artie says I think the house that October built is one of my fave recent found footage. Love that. I think that first one's really solid. I think that's awesome. That and Hell House are like a great double feature if you're gonna watch like anything about haunted houses.
I don't know. I liked Host, and
Host was really cool.
Dash Cam. I like Dash Cam too. But that's just more of the like Aliens 2 kind of movie where it just like throws everything at you. You know what I mean?
Host was creepy. I like that a lot.
I loved it. I think it's
and I like that it was like an hour long too. They weren't like worried about bloating it out to try and make it like standard feature runtime. It was like, here's our movie, and it worked super well.
Just for Luke, even though he's not with us, Artie says I enjoyed Unfriended Dark Web, but it's not.
I enjoy Luke those movies.
Movie. He thinks that movie's fun. Great. I have not seen Dark Web.
I just actually interviewed the director of that.
Yes, I was going to say really? He also talked to Steven Susko, and I'm more curious now than ever to check that out. Digging Up the Marrows, another one they talk about. That's Adam Green, so definitely got to check that one out.
With what's his name from The Damn Fine Cup of Coffee, Twin Peaks. What's his name? Yes. Ray.
I don't know his name, but I know you're Ray.
He's always crying in Twin Peaks. He's my daughter, but he's pretty good in it.
Oh,
I like the creature work in it.
Necro-Mechanimal says the credits scroll on Do Not Disturb was great. I would have watched it through the entire credits.
Right, that part. It's funny because I wanted. Well, I'd cut it with the music. But...
And then Cynthia Necro-Mechanical brings up Deadstream. This is one that I actually bought the Steelbook for and still have not watched it yet. I want to though.
Really?
I hear it's awesome. Yeah, I bought it because that was right when Walmart started doing those. We're getting the Shutter releases on like Steelbook and Blu-ray, and I bought it with every intention to watch it. But then every time I think about sitting down and watching it, I get like 5 screeners, and I'm like, well, fuck me. I guess I have to work. So
the people who did Deadstream, it's the guy in it. It's like a make or break thing because some people found him a little annoying, but it's supposed to be, he's supposed to be someone that you want to die, and he just doesn't. Like one of those kind of things. They did a short at the end of VHS 94, I think it was.
I believe it's either 94 or 99.
Or
It was one of the 90 ones.
But it was the one where they go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have the Puck like demon.
I'm pretty sure that's 99. I think it's 99.
She's hilarious. That girl is in that movie. She's hilarious. She's really good.
Hell yeah. No, I definitely agree with you on that. That is one of my favorite segments. I actually put up a poll this week too to see what people might have been interested in, whether they want me to rank the VHS franchise or go through my favorite segments. And it looks like I'll be ranking the franchise as a whole, but I'm thinking about combining those because as I rewatch them, it's kind of like
have to do every single.
You can't win. You're gonna.
I love talking about some of the.
Is like just asking for trouble.
I know, and it's like I want to because it's like the thing is like I may not like some of the entries as much if you want to talk about them as a whole, but like some of them have like the best segment. Like one of them has like my favorite segment, even though it's not my favorite like of the series. Right. It's like it makes it tough. So
yeah, I got to do the order of the VHS and then something else. What else was I gonna do? Oh no, I got Uzumaki coming. I gotta do that.
Mm-hmm.
The series.
I saw that you posted something about that.
Dude, I'm so excited.
Looks neat.
Junji Ito fan.
I just got VHS Beyond before we went live, so I'm going to be watching that
actually. So they must have just dropped it for everyone.
Yep. So I'm excited to see it. I'll be happy to report that. But I guess now we have to rip the Band-Aid off, Alex. I'm sorry if you want to leave. I understand.
What are you talking about?
Well,
time for some news coverage, buddy.
Evan and I have some news that we have to talk about.
Yeah.
I have to leave for this.
Terrifier 4 has been announced by Damien Leone and crew. I knew this was going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean,
we all knew
everybody
this was
knew. That this was
Why
happening.
even talk about 4 when we could clearly talk about part 7? I mean, literally.
Yeah.
Well,
I haven't even seen 3 yet. But
so
let's talk about 7.
His initial plan. His initial plan was a trilogy.
That movie's awesome.
Yeah, his original plan was to do a trilogy for it. So the fact that we're getting a 4th one is nice. From the way that he has talked about it in the past, it sounds like he's probably wanting to wrap things up with this one. Like he does have an ending in mind that he wants for Terrifier, and he's been very clear. Like I've got my story, and then I'm gonna drop it. He's like, I know people are gonna keep making them because the licensing is just gonna keep rolling. But he's like, I've got my story I want to tell. I have a feeling part 4 is probably gonna be the last one for Leone.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to wait and see on that. Obviously, very exciting news.
Wait, you said part 3 or part 4?
4.
Okay. I feel like he should hand it off, but I guess if he's got an idea.
Well, I wanted a 4th one, and then I wanted that to be the last because the first one is barely a movie.
Mm-hmm. It's a concept.
Right.
So then what I wanted was like a solid trilogy of Terrifier movies. So if we can get 2, 3, 4, and that's like the story, I'm like, cool. I'm happy with that.
So I guess Josh, then I guess you kind of answered my question. Then, are you a Terrifier fan?
Oh, me,
Josh.
Yeah.
John.
I'm sorry, John. My bad. I was looking at the.
I was like, who are you talking to, man?
I was looking at the chat, and then I looked over at him, and I'm like, JJ name got so because I just saved a. Josh
I was in the second one yet. It's like I keep sitting down to watching it, and then something else pops up, and
happens.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the first one?
It was entertaining. Yeah. It is what it is. I mean, it's fun. It's not trying to be anything it's not. So that's why I can respect that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's when the other, and it's funny because it's like I don't know why I compare them, but I think the Human Centipede trilogy gets a lot of bad rap, but I quite like them. Like You know,
Wait, which one?
That's fair.
the Human
Human
Centipede
Centipede.
trilogy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like everyone told me, it's like, oh, it's a crazy. And I watched the first one. I was like, this is a pretty normal movie. Like I don't even understand what people are getting
Yeah.
excited.
Oh, yeah.
The first one I don't think is as bad as I mean it's still like weird, but the second
It's
one is
weird, but
really
it's
where
not.
you're like,
It's cool.
okay.
It's like hilarious. Like
Yeah, but the
one
second one
is-
is like what people describe Human Centipede as. You're like, all right,
yeah,
this is what
and
they're talking
the second
about.
one is genius though. The
Right.
idea that it's like someone influenced by the movie, like that's
It's been too
kind of
long since I've
really-
seen it.
And then it's like he's got a stapler instead of being a surgeon. Like it's a
I
crazy
love that.
departure for that to go to.
I mean,
I
that's
don't
like the most disgusting movie I've ever seen. So I
Really?
haven't gone back to it. I mean, off the top of my head, probably.
Now just that
Oh.
subtitle of "Oh shit, I'm shitting" is like one of my favorite subtitles. in the history of film.
I don't really think it's a hot take to say that Human Centipede 2 is
Oh.
a gross movie.
Did you really have to say hot take? Like that's a
God damn it, man.
I gotta admit it. I am blind to the Human Centipede. I haven't seen any of them.
What?
Oh.
They've never. It's not that they don't appeal. I've always been curious because it's kind
It's
of like
good
the
eating,
Serbian
dude.
film thing. You know what I mean? Shut up.
I
I know.
I met the
It's like-
actress actually. She was in a short film that premiered
Oh,
after Do Not Disturb at Screamfest in LA. And
Hell
so
yeah.
it was,
That's cool.
Yeah, she was. It was. And it's funny because at first, well, because they were local, they were all annoyed that my feature was going to play before their short. Like not the actors and crew, but the friends and family that had gone to the cinema and expected to watch a 10-minute short and go off to the bar and have fun. When they found out the short was playing after the feature, they were just like, and
Oh,
they
no.
all had some drinks, and it was driving me a little crazy because they were in and out to get more beers and go to
Oh.
pee like humans do. But then halfway through the movie they got into it, but it was a hard start because it was a lot of like, why is this playing? And I'm like, oh god.
It's like, oh man, there to support, but not there for the whole thing.
But it's
That's
funny
always tough.
watching her because I was like, who is this woman? I recognize her somewhere. And then I chatted with her and she loved Do Not Disturb. And then it was like, oh, Human Centipede. You're the middle. She was the middle one, Yenny. So
Oh no.
yeah, the middle was
See, like so I haven't seen the movies, but I've seen the South Park episode. I've seen
Oh, yeah.
every parody there is. So I get the concept. I know what's going
Yeah,
on.
well,
She
there's
talks too
more
much,
to it
so he
than
makes
that.
No, it's actually the first one is a very sort of like
Straightforward, yeah.
plain, straightforward, well-structured film. It's a very 70s feeling. Girls go to a party, get lost, bump into the wrong guy, and bad shit happens. It's like
Isn't the guy like a German guy too, or is he
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Austrian?
course, he's a German scientist.
Yeah,
like an
of
evil
course.
German scientist. Like who? There's no other nationality
That's
for
the
him
best
to
way to
be.
do it, man.
We will make a human being that will be connected from mouth to rear.
yeah, pretty much.
But at least he's like clinical and
Right.
Second
That's
guy
why
is
I like
security
part 2
guard.
though. 2 is definitely the epitome for me.
It is because it's duct tape and like
Right.
stapler gun and like just raw like
Hot
X-Acto
glue.
knives. It's
And
so awesome.
and from what I understand, that one is like it sets it up as the first film being a film.
Yeah.
And this guy's like some crazed fan. See, that sounds interesting.
It's
that
so
sounds
meta.
exciting. Like that
Yeah.
sounds cool.
You got to watch the first one though. Just
Oh,
all the way
I
through it, yeah.
absolutely will. I don't know anything about 3. I didn't even know there was a
3
third,
is
honestly,
weird. It's in a
until everybody
prison,
started
and it's like
talking.
they put like the whole
Yeah.
prison into a centipede.
Kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of Solo.
You went a bit far.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean the third one is just a straight
Yeah,
up.
I've
Solo.
seen that one. I've seen Solo. That's a lot.
Oh yeah.
There's a good amount for me there. I did just
My
want to say,
Can I got to tell a story real quick because I was making I don't know, back in the day when we had tapes and you had no distribution and nobody could get tapes anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
There was these VHS companies that would sell tapes. And like, sometimes we would make a couple copies, of those movies that you could never get. And one of them was Solo. And my dad had the two, because he
Real
was a
real.
videographer. So he was making copies of his own tapes. But I popped in mine, and my dad came downstairs and was like, Solo was on the TV, and he was like, what the fuck are you watching? Dude, I've never been more panicked to try to explain to him, but I couldn't say anything. Like, what do you say? And it was the moment when there was like, they were dancing all naked.
yeah.
And like, I didn't know what to say to him. I was like, Dad, I'm not gay. It's okay though. I promise you I'm not. It's like, he's
That
like,
was
no, think it's
That's-
weird. What are you watching?
That's Alex's equivalent to every time a nude scene or a sex scene starts in a movie and your parents walk in. That's your
Dude.
equivalent. Oh,
It's
Well,
kind of like that.
watching Do Not Disturb with my in-laws and parents was interesting. So
you made this. Like, look at that. Look at that.
Oh my god, yeah, I wouldn't even know what to do
John's
with that.
movie.
If my
Yeah.
girlfriend's parents watched a movie that I made, holy shit, that's something else, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yours is-
excited.
At least yours has a little bit of taste, I guess. You know.
Well, it's
Mine
funny
was
because I
all-
had one
tasty.
critic mention. Well, mine's at least cinematic, I guess. But it's like I had one critic mention the. Well, I never thought of it as a rape scene, but apparently it was.
Oh yeah,
I'm not 100% on which because
I don't think so.
she returns the favor really quickly. So
They were having a power dynamic at that moment, so I didn't really
that's what
see
it was. It's
Yeah,
technically it's without consent, but yeah, it was weird. It was a weird one, but it's funny. I had one, but she was like fine with it, but the critic was like interested. I didn't think about it until it was mentioned.
right.
Mhm. I did just want to hop back into chat here just for a second. So, Necromechanimal says, "I hope that they wrap up the story in 3, and then 4 just be all kills." I think
I need more lore.
People-
I think they're going to be 3 is going to just kind of give us a little bit more insight into what's going
4
on.
is
But I
probably going to
think,
be a lot of lore.
and I don't know this. I haven't seen any of the reviews other than headlines because I'm staying away from a lot of it. But like, I have a feeling that 3 is going to end on a huge cliffhanger, and we're going to have to wait for 4 to get everything wrapped up officially.
like a to
Just
be
be-
continued.
Yeah.
I think so. I think like it'll be kind of
3 is
like
probably going to end on a pretty dark note. I
And
would
then
imagine.
five is going to be this sad commercial affair. Like,
Sticks that go to
5. It's not
space.
even going to be Art the Clown. It's going to
well,
be
that's what I
somebody
mean. It's
dressed
going to be
as
like
Art the
some
Clown.
conglomerate's going to buy it and sanitize
It's
it.
his father, Bart, and like
Apparently, he
Bart.
did just reveal that, like, after the release of the first movie, there were studios reaching out who wanted to remake Terrifier, but like clean it
Not
up to make it
gore.
more palatable to a wider audience.
The
And he was
McDonald's sponsor.
obviously he was just like, "Fuck off!" Like,
yeah, no.
there's no
But
way.
clearly he wasn't broke enough because I would have said yes right now.
And then we
It
have
worked out.
same person. Human Centipede 1 and 2 are great, but 3 is like 1 or 2 parts worthwhile.
Yeah.
And then did you watch the colored version of Human Centipede 2?
I didn't know there was a version in color.
I thought it was both color and black and white. Like
I don't know.
I thought it
I,
went back and
I
forth.
recall it only being black and white. But
That's me
Oh,
it's
too.
been a
dude.
long time.
Yeah, I watched it once and then
You can see the sweat glisten better in black and white off
I
all
love
of his
black and
body.
Mm.
And then our buddy Daniel from the Cobwebs channel says, I ain't never watching those Human Centipede movies.
I don't blame you, buddy.
Why not?
What's
They're
up,
pretty
dude?
tame.
Mhm.
They're not tame.
The concept is not, but they're executed in a
The
very
second
friendly
movie is
way, I
not
thought.
tame.
The second one is not. You're right.
The first one, no, the first one, like, I was surprised. I was like, wow, this is not like nearly as bad as
Yeah.
people make it out to be. But like Human Centipede 2, for sure. You watch that, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
this is
It proved that there is no wrong way to eat a Reese's. You know what
exactly, yeah.
I mean?
Necromechanical says what happened to the director of Solo was wild, and then he
Yes, it was.
goes on to tell it. I didn't know this, but yeah,
Huh.
apparently he was savagely beaten, also run over several times with his own
Yeah.
car. Multiple bones were broken, and his testicles were crushed.
Didn't he like
By
owe
what
a
appeared
lot
to
of
have
money
been
to
a
some
metal
really
bar.
dangerous people or something?
Well,
Sounds like it.
it was a movie about the Marquis de Sade, and in a place that was not too happy about them making that kind of
yeah.
Interesting.
stuff. That's what I'm saying. Some of these movies that you watch, they're bold, and they're not just bold for being
Sure.
bold. They're bold because they could die in some
Yeah.
countries.
Yeah. Well, that's what they, that's the beauty of America. We've cheapified protest in a lot of ways, right? We commercialized
True.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taking it seriously as no one's put
Yeah.
to death. But didn't like Cannibal Holocaust, that director got detained. in
Yeah.
Italy.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did.
He had to go to court over it.
And he had like a
prove-
hard time tracking down the actors too to like get them
Yeah.
in to be like, they are alive. I swear they're alive.
Yeah. Those are pretty. That's I mean that's it's not technically a found footage, but it is kind of. There's
Got a lot
moments.
of
It's-
found footage
it's-
elements to it.
I think it's still credited as technically one of the very first
Yeah.
commercial found
Yeah.
footage films.
I-
Like,
no,
if
it's
not
not
the
the
first.
1st. There's another one called.
Yeah, one of though.
There was a prisoner movie called Shit. I can't remember, but I looked it up. If you go to the website, foundfootagecritic.com, they have like a list of every single found footage movie
Oh yeah,
ever
it's called
made.
Cannibal Holocaust.
No.
Just kidding.
But it was called something like something prison something, or I can't remember what it is. Very late 60s, early 70s kind of Vietnam sort of film about putting prisoners in a prison and then letting them run free when they've run out of room. And if they could make it across no man's land, then they would be able to be free human beings. But they would like shoot at them and hunt them down and stuff. And it's pretty wild.
Like the opening to Rambo 4.
It seems really real too, which is the crazy part about it is like it seems like because they do interviews with each of the characters before they go out. And then like they're just like, and then they interview the people who were going to shoot them and stuff. And it's pretty, it's pretty wild.
I'm gonna have to, that actually does sound interesting. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
There was another movie with the similar name, but it was a different movie altogether. I just can't think of it. I'll look it up while you guys are figuring this stuff out. But
I was gonna say the next piece of news, and then I think we'll probably have to go into the wrap up here. Is I just wanted to throw this one in there. We didn't have a whole lot. There really wasn't a ton. I know in the spectrum of things, everybody's at festivals right now, so there's
Alex, were you
lot
thinking about
going
The
on
Connection, by the way?
me?
Yeah.
No.
I'm just trying to like go back to like the first found footage movie. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So many people say so many different things.
I know.
I was gonna say, did anybody watch the trailer for Mickey 17?
No.
The new
what's
Bong
that?
Joon-ho movie? No?
No.
Oh, okay. Then I guess this isn't a news story for us. But Bong Joon-ho has a new movie coming out. It looks awesome. It's got Robert Pattinson stars in it, Toni Collette, Steven Yeun, Mark Ruffalo. Essentially just this dude who is kind of working on a space station, and they kind of clone him over and over again. He's just been picked to live. He kind of signs himself up for a life of just, he gets cloned, they put him into a dangerous situation to like fix something, or he does the jobs nobody wants to do, and if he dies they just reclone him. So that's where you get Mickey 17. So it's it looks really crazy.
Oh yeah, okay, I think I saw that.
Yeah, it looks really good. I would recommend checking it out. But here I'll keep looking. We'll see if we can find one more story to touch on here. Because I know, like I said, it's just been a really slow couple of weeks, and I know not all of us have seen the substance, so I don't want to.
The October is coming when everything is gonna overload.
It's about to explode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it sucks. John's movie was supposed to be up on Shudder, but we're gonna have to wait.
It might be in October. We don't know yet.
That would be great. That would be even better.
Kind of.
But I feel like they're gonna like be like, well, it's not really beach time, and you know.
Yeah, John, I want to check this movie out. I've been very much sold by what we've talked about here.
Okay, it can only disappoint now.
No, it's definitely something I think you'll appreciate, Evan. It's up your alley for sure.
It's definitely a movie watcher's movie.
I would agree with that. If you,
I think it. I think there's a good 30% of the audience that just hates it from the first 4 minutes, but I'm fine with that.
No, he's right though, because like I really didn't like one of the characters right away, and it's so perfectly done that it like unfolds, and then I don't know, I don't want to say, but yeah,
sure, yeah,
it's called Something Park, by the way.
Okay,
I've
just got a whole list of them, and they're not.
Yeah, I was on that website. You told me
Carnage Park, because there was another movie called Carnage Park. It's called Something Park, and it was from the 60s or 70s.
Those movies are so hard to like track down sometimes, and it's like really. It's funny because I remember when DVDs started coming out. I remember Scorsese talking about how many films were lost because they weren't going to be transferred over from VHS, and how many films were already lost because they weren't transferred over to film to VHS. And every time these like B movies that not enough people, that no one can make enough money on, they're just forgotten. So, you know,
Punishment Park. There it is.
Punishment Park.
Done. Punishment Park from 1971 is considered to be.
I found one from the 60s.
I don't know. This is the one that I was told from this list of.
Oh yeah, pseudo documentary, 1971.
Cool.
It's pretty good. It's actually not a bad movie. It's just very unconventional. So you're going to be watching like a lot of interviews at 1st, and you're going to be confused as to what the hell is going on.
But
And then it gets into the movie like halfway in, and you're like, okay, what the hell's
those
going
indie
on?
movies would go anywhere at that time. That was a good period of like I think
totally.
of Let's Scare Jessica to Death, because it opens up really kind of
Oh,
not
yeah.
boring, but just like rambling in a like, where is this movie going? And then it focuses towards the end, but at the opening, you're like, do these people even know they're making a movie? Like, what is going on here? It's just like they're in a car, they're talking. It's just, I don't know.
What was that other movie? Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. That one's kind of like that a little bit.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be the Night of the Living Dead ripoff or something. You know what I mean? So,
Necromechanimal says, any thoughts on Charlie Hunnam playing Ed Gein in the next Netflix monster series?
I'll give him a
I
chance.
did not know. I didn't catch that.
I just saw that last week or a couple days ago. I don't know when, but
yeah. Did anybody here
he hasn't
watch? Did anybody watch that?
I didn't watch Dahmer. I was.
Oh my god, Dahmer is like some of the best acting. It's really heavy.
It really rubbed me the wrong way that like the family members of his victims were like begging them not to make that show and not to use their likeness, and they still just were like, "Fuck you, we're doing it." And I was like, I don't know. I felt weird about it.
Likeness is one thing, but like the story, I feel like is kind of
sure. But like recreating exact moments where they were like, "We don't want you to do this with us." I'm not saying like it's wrong.
Yeah.
Watch it or anything. It's just I couldn't personally.
It was really well done though. Like
I've heard it's very very well made. Yeah.
I know a lot about well, I don't know a lot, but I've read a lot about, and there was moments in it where I was like, oh, this is inaccurate, and then I'd like look it up, and it was like, oh no, it's accurate, and I just like had glazed over it because I'd read the simplified research. It's like the details on that stuff. Like I remember when I first read about him, it was that his lock system, right? Is like he had 7 padlocks on his door and 5 were locked, 2 were unlocked, and in no order. So if you were trying to escape, you would just flick them and you would invariably lock 2 and unlock 5 and never know the pattern because he's chasing after you. And I thought like it's a special type of genius that would conceive of that type of brain puzzle.
He liked thinking about it a lot, you know. That's what it seems like. Yeah.
Well, because it's someone's trying to eat you, you run.
Right.
I have not seen or had any time to sit down and watch the Menendez story, which is season 2 that just came out. And I've heard some mixed things about it, though. I hear some people are really into it, some people aren't. The one thing that is kind of shocking is that I also was one of these people. I didn't know this story. This is not as well like documented as like a Dahmer or something was, or now Ed Gein. So I think it's interesting that the second time around they go for something that's a little bit more obscure, I guess you'd say.
I don't know how, I guess for people like me who spent most of their life reading crime history, I thought it was like, I don't know.
It was okay.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I just mean like I didn't think the Menendez brothers were that obscure.
Yeah, I personally I have not seen much of it at all, or anything about it. So
none of it's obscure to me. I had the encyclopedia of fucking serial killers.
Yeah, like, what was that website? There was a website before TV really got into it. It was like crime.com or I think it was crime.com. I think it was.
Was
it
it
had
crime?
Like detailed. Yeah, I used to spend hours on that shit.
Well, they also did it on fuck.com as well, like where they would like tell the stories of the
this was just like a collection of news, so you'd like it was an accurate sort of like non-biased, like you could read the court transcripts and stuff like that.
Wow,
which are wild.
Oh, I can only imagine
pages, and then all of a sudden like 5 parts. But yeah, I don't know. I eat that stuff up for breakfast. So
well, yeah, you got to make movies.
One day I'm gonna do a serial killer story. I don't know. That and found footage. I'm dying. Like I really want to do found footage.
I was gonna say, yeah. Have you ever considered doing found footage and then?
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe you can combine the two.
I wrote one, and the problem is it's about the movie industry, and nobody in the industry wants to make a movie about the industry right now.
Can I ask if you did a serial killer story, would you do one that's based off of true events, or would you go for an original take? Would you kind of create your own?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know if it would be like. No, I'd probably go. Well, I would probably borrow from reality and fictionalize
yeah.
it. It's kind of where I live, but it would probably be in that like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer kind of world of like grim reality. No one will buy
Gotcha.
it. It'll never get made because that's the
Yeah, I just did like a whole. I listened to a whole book, just going over the whole BTK murders. I didn't know anything about him, and like now, kind of seeing it, it's just like being an aspiring filmmaker, I just sit there and you cast people in your head, and I'm just like, I really, really want fucking Jake Gyllenhaal to play him. I think that he would absolutely crush it.
But that's where Dahmer really works because I didn't know that actor, and he doesn't.
Oh, really?
No, and so like you really kind of like I find when I'm watching movies, like I really regret Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer because I can't go back and watch it without associating the actor now. Or I wish I would have seen it raw when he was, an unknown. It's like because you can lose yourself quite easily, and that's what I think makes the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre really effective. Is it feels real? It almost feels like Doc in a lot of ways.
And I think
it feels
a lot
like
of that
hidden
comes
camera
from
show, like fly on the wall type
It's
thing.
so weird. It's so weird. Like that movie, I love it.
Who was
It's
the
like
guy
one of those
that liked women's shoes and was in that Netflix show where they were coming up with the whole serial killer book.
Oh,
like
you're
how to
talking about
profile.
Mindhunter.
Yeah. Like I can't think of the guy that did him was just so.
Mindhunter
like,
was amazing.
That first season was so freaking amazing, and that guy who played him, I was just like, man, I feel unsettled just watching this guy talk. Like
And
he
then-
is.
Yeah, all of them like were really hypnotic, and then the fact that series ends with a complete, I think it's a 7-minute Led Zeppelin song, was really what nailed that for me.
Really? Okay. I don't think I finished.
Oh my god, the end, because it ends with that. I forget what song it is, but it's like the long song from Physical Graffiti, and it's like not a pot like. And I was like, when they started playing it, I was like, "Hey, how did they get Zeppelin? Because Zeppelin's never in movies." And then it starts like 3 minutes in, and you're like, "They're gonna play the whole song," which I always.
Hey, if you're gonna pay for it, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when Marvel got for Ragnarok, they got that one Zeppelin song, and they played it like three times. Yeah, they played it 3 times. Like,
that seems to be the formula now for network shows, is that you play a song in the beginning and a song at the end, and that's how you get people into because it's vibey, like you get that vibe going.
It's hard to license, like in Do Not Disturb, I licensed those 2 Nero tracks, which aren't like pop music or that. Like,
right.
But going through that process it took me a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, because music licensing is not a cheap game. And so when you're making an independent, no budget movie, the default answer you ask is no, you'll never do it. You'll never do it. You'll never.
You're talking about the dance song, right?
Yeah, Nero. It's not even like,
It's
not even, I don't even use Nero's. I use 2 remixes of it off a remix. Right. And one of them, it was Delta Heavy's remix, because I eventually DM'd them on Instagram. And they were like, "Nah, we never got paid for that music. I don't even think there is a license to it." And that's when I was like, "I'm tracking this one down." Like, and then it's you bump into these people who are like music supervisors, and they'll be like, "Oh, you probably can't afford it."
Thank you, Cynthia.
It'll probably be like $20,000, and you'll never get it. And then, but we have musicians who will make music exactly like it that you'll like just as much. And then, so it's like, okay, so you're taking my 20 grand, and then you're going to take a 15% off each musician to compose music that I don't like as much. And then you're going to charge me again to license that. Like, I see the game that you're playing here.
That's wild,
and then,
man.
I found this great woman in BC, and she licensed it. She charged me nothing. Like, she charged me, but it was like completely nothing. And she did it in 2 weeks. I'm like, it's just finding ask.
Gotta find the right people.
You have to ask the right people. So.
Yeah,
that's crazy, man.
I've always been curious how that process works, because I do hear it's a nightmare, especially for independent films. Like, it's.
I will say, we just licensed some Arcade Fire, and
wow, I haven't thought about that
my wife's movie. Yeah, we licensed Tucson, and they were really. I mean, the band was helped. And so they made it easy. Universal was very easy to deal with. And then through Nero, it was Sony. They were great to deal with. And I wanted a Feed Me track for Do Not Disturb, the opening. and Warner Brothers. It's like once we told them the budget, they go like never replied to another email or phone call ever again. There's no negotiating, just like not interested. So
Yeah, damn.
Gotta love it.
yeah, but it would have made that opening sequence so much better.
Well, some things are meant to be, I guess.
I was
'Cause I
debating-
honestly, you know, seeing the movie, it's like I couldn't think of another
Yeah.
way to do it, really. So it's like that's one thing about you being the filmmaker creator. It's like you see one version of the film, or you see
I
a
only
version of
see
the
that.
film that'll always.
Yeah, it's an
And
hour
then-
and a half of my failures. Is what it is for me.
And then we
Like,
see the
not
film as
unique.
a totally different beast, where we're like.
I
"This
will
is
say
great."
that Do Not Disturb is unique in that I can watch it. I've watched it a lot, and even through the edit. But every time I watch it, I love it. So I haven't gotten bored of it yet. So
That's
But-
good. Yeah.
yeah, I mean the compromises I made were financial, whereas with the
Mm.
sublet, I made a couple creative compromises due to, well, partly my own mistakes for not telling the story properly, but just being told
Yeah.
that I had to do stuff. So those make me cringe.
It's you want to look up 2022. I think that's
I
how
was
you
about to
find
say,
it.
yeah, that's how I.
And if you
find
look
it
at
all
the
the time.
Oh,
poster
right, that's
behind
right.
John, you can see it's the
Yeah,
pink
yeah.
one right there.
Mhm. Yep, I was about to say, so thank you there, Alex. Because yeah, anytime when I was looking it up, I would always get that Netflix one, and then usually the one you're looking for is just like a
Well,
step
when I
below,
reviewed
so-
it, people wanted to see it, and they were kind of asking because like they didn't know how to find it because they kept going into that Netflix one, and I was like, damn it, man.
I wanted to change the title at a certain point.
Yeah, I don't
Because of
blame you.
that.
Mm,
But it was just too perfect, so I couldn't.
Yeah.
I like it. The name. I don't even know what the other one is about. It's about a hotel or something.
I should
think.
watch it at some point.
It's like an
just give your
Armenian film,
letterbox review of it. real
But no,
quick.
if you go on IMDb, there's like almost every single television series ever made has an episode called "Do Not Disturb."
Do Not Disturb.
There's
Yeah, I
a
saw
ton of
that too.
features. Like it's just like it is the most common title, and I'm an idiot for. And then the worst is I set up my like Google, like to whenever someone mentions "Do Not Disturb" in the news, but it's all like Apple "Do Not Disturb."
Yeah,
iPhone.
Apple
So I'm
flipping
like,
your Switch stuff.
and the
yeah.
same thing with my first feature, the sublet. All I get is like sublets available in the UK or sublets available. I'm like, my
You
next
gotta
movie's gonna
find
be the title.
some real obscure one-word thing that you can just throw out there
Well,
and just be like, "This is what it is."
My
Has
next
nothing to do with the
feature,
movie.
the one I'm pitching right now, is called Wanton.
Wanton.
that'll be
Okay.
bad.
Nice.
Which
Okay.
is not a word people use a lot, and 90% of the people who regurgitate it to me go to wonton soup. I'm not writing a movie about soup. Like, have you not heard the word wanton? Like,
So you left her wanton.
like,
That's how you're supposed to use it, right? Isn't it
yeah.
like that?
Well, wanton,
Being left
it's
wanton.
a wanton act of violence, or
Oh,
you know,
wanton. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Alrighty. Well, I think that's about everything I got. So I'm gonna have to be hopping off here, but I think anything else that we want to touch on before we wrap this up?
No, John, thank you so much for coming on and joining us, man. We really appreciate it, dude.
Thank you.
Very cool to
Yeah.
hang out with you, man.
Dude, this has been great. Pleasure to meet you. It's a great conversation. It's been very
No,
interesting to get
absolutely,
someone
yeah.
on the show who's like involved in the craft that we're all so in love with. So that's been very, very fun to chat about, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
if you guys haven't already, please watch Do Not Disturb.
I'm watching it as soon as I
2022.
can. No, he said he won't get money from me renting it. So
And also follow
Someone might.
Ainsley on Instagram as well. So
Mhm.
Yeah, because then
do
whenever
that now.
Shutter decides to put it up, I'll post about it.
Absolutely, and we'll make sure to share it on our socials and
yeah,
in
Yeah,
tag
the
me,
tabs and
tag
stuff.
me in it as a collaborator, and I'll
Yeah, for sure.
share it too.
And I will send you, Evan. Just let me, if you email me, I'll send you a Vimeo link.
Okay, cool. Thanks,
I still
man.
have the screener on. Yeah, I mean, because I don't know if Shutter. I guess it's English language, but I don't know if Shutter it's the United States or English language. So
Sure.
Canada might be let out again. I'm kind of. It's kind of my thing now, where I'm like, huh, if Canada just never plays the movie. It's kind of just going to be the thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, you
Appreciate
can
that.
buy it on DVDshark.com. I think it's DVD
Yeah,
Shark.
nice.
Yeah, I
Oh,
gotta get a copy. I
fantastic.
still need to get it, but I really want a Blu-ray, man. Like
I
that's
don't,
like
they don't make any Blu-rays. It's like,
I know.
but the cool thing about Do Not Disturb the DVD is there's 2 DVD commentaries. If you're a fiction.
Oh, okay.
I
I
do
love
one with the
commentaries.
actors and one with my DP and editor. So it's like a technical
That's
one and
sweet,
a
actually.
creative one. So,
Hell
That's
yeah.
a good. Yeah.
I like that because like I miss that from like old DVDs because like I was talking to my dad about this how like even back to like the mid 2000s you'd get like a DVD and there's always a
Yeah.
2-pack It's like you get a whole
Yeah.
disc that's nothing but
Sweet.
like 4 hours worth of footage. Like,
This is my first feature,
Nice.
which
Hell
no
yeah.
one's- I've never seen anyone comment on it, but the DVD, the director's commentary, is just me and my editor getting drunk and getting more and more bold with how much we insult people. I've never actually listened to it, but I know we were pretty drunk. And
I was
running
just
our mouths
watching a
crazy.
director's commentary this morning on a different movie. I that kind of thing is so insightful. I love that
Yeah,
deeper
there's
look into the creator's perspective.
the original In-Laws with Peter Falk and Alan Arkin. They that DVD commentary, I probably learned more about filmmaking than anything else in my life.
Yeah.
Listening to those two talk about two shots and like how stunt doubles will roll away from you, and there's like they really get into the craft of it.
Awesome.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
thank
those.
you.
Plus, I love the ones that are like, I think when you said you were getting drunk, they did that in Resolution, which is a really great indie film that everybody should watch as well. They did it in Cannibal the Musical, which they end up going to the fucking strip club by the end of the movie. That's the Trey and Matt Stone.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there was one of the most interesting ones I ever saw was the Resolution guys also did another track where they just had one of the directors sitting with their dog and they just had him bark a bunch of times and then they put in different barking noises and they were like talking, but you couldn't hear what the dog was saying. You would just bark. I
That's
listened
pretty
to the
good.
whole thing because I wanted to know like if there was anything of substance to it, and it's just comedy. It's just funny. It's just like
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know what the fuck they were thinking.
Yeah.
I even told them about it, and they were like, "You actually watched that?"
That's
I was
really
like,
funny.
"Wow, thanks, man."
There is a no because it's like who is watching these things, and in my mind when I'm doing them, it's like not many people are going to listen to this, but the people who do care. So I'm gonna,
100%.
Thank you. Oh, we appreciate it. The StreamYard fund. Yes, thank you. We probably won't be
Yeah.
on
I'm going to
StreamYard
drop
much
the
longer.
Discord
but-
link real quick for everybody.
And then Mr. Boone says, I would kill for a commentary of the substance. My girlfriend and I have been watching so much stuff behind the scenes. Yeah, that's one I would love to sit down and talk with her for a little bit and get some insight on. Because thank you, Fan Bam. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right, one second, guys.
Yeah, I definitely recommend that, especially Evan. If you can, try to make this a double feature, kind of like what I did. Do Not Disturb and The Substance. They play
Okay,
really
I'm
nice.
seeing The Substance tomorrow night.
So yeah, then watch Do Not Disturb like the next day, or like if you can, maybe even just shortly
then-
after. Because
and then watch Will Friedkin's Bug soon after.
Okay.
That was the biggest influence on it in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I love William.
Oh, there it
Friedkin.
is. Okay, here we go. Thank you for all the donations and chats, guys. Just so you know, any of that money is not going to these clowns. No, I'm kidding. No,
He's not wrong.
we do trade off
What
each
the
thing,
fuck?
but
that's not how
No,
this is
it's-
supposed to
it's
go. I
going
want
it
my
works.
into savings
35
funds
cents.
for me to get a new computer. So just know that. Thank
Wait,
you.
Dylan, did you not know Alex has been splitting with me this whole read?
What is
Oh,
this, guys?
didn't know.
This is not fair.
I'll send my
I'm the one
invoice.
that has to set it up. I'm the one that's hosting the service. I'm getting fucked over.
Yeah,
here
I
by
thought the joy
StreamYard.
of helping was enough
That's
for you.
usually the person who does the work doesn't get paid.
That works for
Yeah.
me.
Generally in life.
That's okay. That's
Since I had so many troubles, you understand.
I'm used to getting the short end of the stick with these two. They roasted me all 2 weeks ago about how I didn't share my short film with them, and I bet you neither
was
of them
fair.
watched it.
I haven't had a chance.
I haven't had a
Oh,
second
yeah,
to
yeah, I
my own,
bet.
Dylan.
They literally yelled and screamed at me the last 5 minutes of the stream, and then
Oh
my
I shared it,
God.
and they never
Bud?
watched it.
Bud,
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Thank
I
you,
know
man.
they hate it. I already can tell they're gonna hate it.
No.
so.
I actually did watch it. I just haven't wanted to tell
let's
you how
live
much
watch
I
it right
didn't
now.
enjoy it.
I have narcolepsy and I pass out. And if I don't I have to.
You're saying
plan
it's
for-
that bad, huh? You just pass
It's
out.
really
when you
that
watch
bad.
it.
Like I had to plan for this today. I was like half asleep when I came on, and that's why I was like in a little rotten mood.
Thank you, Fan Bam.
I
Thank you,
dated a
Fan
girl
Bam.
who had narcolepsy once.
Yeah, it's really weird,
Jeez.
and I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. It sucks. It's like it's really hard to watch movies. There's some movies I won't
Yeah.
review because I can't make it through, and I feel like it's wrong to not. If I can't watch it all the way through, I'll have to rewatch it. Yeah, and I feel like that kind of ruins it a little bit sometimes. So I sometimes don't do reviews.
Interesting.
Yeah, I only watch half of movies and then give my thoughts and opinions. I don't
Guys,
feel like
I
following
didn't
it,
mean
so.
to say that to make you donate, but I really appreciate it.
Thank
So
you,
thank you.
Cynthia. Look at that. Look at that. Alrighty. Well, I am gonna cut the stream though, just because I do gotta run and
All right,
go
guys.
see my kiddo.
Cheers.
So we appreciate you all there, and I'm gonna cut it. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
All
Thanks,
right, see you
everybody.
guys. Thank you for the